Versus Sperry. Step forward, please.
Patricia Melnick is suing her former daughter-in-law, 28-year-old Melinda Sperry, for the return of her appliances.
How long were you married to, you're the son?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Tim
this is my son.
Your last name?
Mangan.
Sit down. How long were you married to him?
7 years.
And you have 2 children?
3.
3 children. So, Miss Melnick, you want to tell me why you think these appliances are worth suing your former daughter-in-law for?
Well, when they wanted to buy my home, which was worth $51,500, they tried to assume the mortgage, and they couldn't. And I have the original agreement. None of my appliances went with the home. Melinda sent a letter on November 10th.
Okay, so let's start.
Okay.
When they were married, they wanted to purchase your home.
Right.
Right?
Melinda did.
Not your son.
No, she did.
Okay. And the appliances did not go with the house.
No, they did not.
Okay, but you left them in the house.
Yes.
And what was the arrangement?
That my son will tell you.
No, you tell me. You're the
Okay,
plaintiff.
with that, I let them use them until they would purchase their own or whatever they needed to do if they wanted to purchase appliances. That's
Is
the
that
way
right?
it went.
No, we had another house, and we bought her house because she couldn't afford it anymore. She, for some reason, won't work. And her other son moved into our second home, and she cried that he doesn't have any appliances and this and that. We left our appliances over at that house for him. And she says that we could have her appliances so he could have appliances.
Okay, because I didn't quite understand that. You turned over your old house to the plaintiff's other son.
Yeah, he's renting it from my ex-husband.
Okay, and that other house was in his name. Your former husband's name.
Yes.
And you left all of your appliances there.
Yes.
So when you moved into your mother-in-law's house, you had her appliances. Fine. Then there came a time when you were supposed to exchange these appliances. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
And you say you returned a refrigerator first.
Yes, I had hired movers to return these things.
How old is your
Melinda has been, she beat me up 1994.
I have the
She
restraining
beat me up. I have.
Miss Melnick.
She's caused nothing but trouble with the family.
Miss Melnick, I read the papers. She has a restraining order against you. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, so your other son was living in the house and you ordered a mover to take over the refrigerator from the old house to her house. Did you look at the refrigerator first?
No, I was not allowed to go near any of that area.
I didn't ask you whether you looked at it in her house. I asked you whether you looked at it in your son's house.
No, Your Honor.
Well, she says that that refrigerator was delivered in deplorable condition. It was filthy, it had mold in it, and it had dead fly in it, and she refused to accept it. Why are you raising your hand? Did you see the refrigerator?
Yes, Your Honor.
At your brother's house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, step up here.
Thank you. Prior to the furniture to be delivered, I also cleaned the refrigerator and everything else, and then Melinda refused it, and it returned back to my brother's house. They recleaned it again.
Well, why did they have to re-clean it, sir?
Supposedly...
Not supposedly. Why, if it was re-cleaned, it was cleaned for a reason. Why was it re-cleaned?
Because she wouldn't accept it.
No, it was re-cleaned because it had mold on it.
Well, she stated that it had a fly in it, Your Honor.
If it had a fly in it, sir, you'd take a little tissue.
Right.
Pick up the fly, and you throw it away.
I did not see any mold on it or anything. I did clean it the first time, and then I made sure my brother cleaned it. The second time, they took it back over there. The third time, she refused it. I also had other appliances to replace that are in excellent condition, like the washer and dryer, refrigerator, stove, everything that was supposed to be returned to her, and she refused every one of them.
All right, sir. Now, let me ask you this question. If all those things were in wonderful condition, is that what you're saying to me? The refrigerator was in wonderful condition?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why in the world would you want to return them to her?
The reason being is that I didn't want any more friction between my ex-wife and my mother anymore.
Well, just a second. Let me stop you right there. You say the appliances that are now in the home that your brother is living in
Yes, Your Honor.
are in great condition.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what about the appliances in your home? Are they in great condition?
Yes, I keep my stuff clean.
So they're nice and clean, right?
Yeah.
Well, everybody should be happy. What do you have to pay movers for? You have great appliances, and you have great appliances. Why do you have to move them from one place to another? Why don't you just say, well, I got great appliances, I got great appliances, let's just call it a day. We both have what we need.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Well, look at the way you're looking at her. I wouldn't want you around me either.
Well, I don't want her near me either, Your Honor.
And later today,
You can afford to go on dates. Ask them when's the last time we've been able to do anything because we're paying off $8,000. They are your children. Help us.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Melnick is suing her former daughter-in-law, Melinda Sperry, for the return of her appliances.
So why are you here except to annoy each other?
Eventually we were going to move all the appliances from the other house that my brother is renting from us into the new house that we purchased from my mother.
Right.
And she was supposed to receive all her appliances. My mother was supposed to receive all her appliances back.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Right. However, you just told me that
Melinda,
all of the appliances that were left in your brother's house
were to be returned, and she
are
refused.
fine, perfect, nice and clean, nothing wrong with them.
No.
I don't understand why you're annoying each other.
Your Honor, may I please speak? I have pictures of what she wanted someone to spring clean. I'll show you what she gave us.
You don't seem to understand what I'm saying to you, madam. I don't understand, Grandma, why you're here. If your son has nice appliances in his house, and she has nice appliances in her house, and you have 3 grandchildren, right? Then you're only here to annoy each other. And I don't understand that. Especially when you're supposed to, as a grandmother, make things nice instead of make things difficult.
I did, Your Honor.
No,
I sold
no,
my
no,
house
no, no.
cheaply.
No,
Extremely cheaply.
Listen
I
to
have
me.
a police
It's
report.
time to put a stop to it. This is over appliances. Appliances are a lot of baloney, and I see absolutely no basis to irritate each other. If you want the appliances from your son's house, take them. Take them, and then he'll buy new ones. Now, I'm going to get to something that seems to me even more important. You made 3 children together?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're supposed to love your children more than you hate each other.
I love my children dearly.
And you too.
She doesn't let me see them.
You too. You are supposed to love your children more than you
I
hate
take
each
child
other.
support,
No,
and
you
she
don't.
don't.
Hey.
She doesn't let me.
Mother-in-law, you're not being smart. You're supposed to stay out of it.
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to stay out of it.
After
I guarantee you that you don't know everything that went on in their home.
No.
I have married children, and I guarantee you, I don't know everything that goes on in their home. So you are a fool if you butt in. You're a fool if you butt in when they're married. You're a fool when you butt in when they're not married anymore, because what happens is she gets mad at you, and you don't see your grandchildren.
Exactly. She
Of course. Of course. Well, look at the way you're looking at her. I wouldn't want you around me either.
Well, I don't want her near me
Listen
either,
to me.
Your Honor.
I'm telling you.
Not after she beat me up.
I'm telling you. I also know that a court gave her a restraining order against you.
But that doesn't stop her from calling my home and irritating me.
Miss
And the
Melnick,
reason why I'm not
Miss
working is because of her.
Miss Melnick, you just don't get it.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
You just don't get it.
I get it.
You are going to be without 3 grandchildren. Now, he's supposed to see his children.
No, he has terms which he is supposed to fulfill before he sees them.
Do you mean support?
I pay child support.
No.
What kind of terms?
Well, he just come out of drug rehab, so that's one. Then he's supposed to have 10 weeks of parenting classes. And
Oh.
it goes back to supervised visitations.
Okay. Were you an inpatient in drug program, sir?
It was a mental depression breakdown because after the incident that occurred.
You don't go into it. Listen to me.
I haven't seen my children.
Listen to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
It says in the order that you are to go to parenting classes, and until you finish satisfactorily those parenting classes and remain drug-free, that you will only have supervised visitation. So am I to assume that you have not gone to the parenting classes?
I attended the first parenting classes, and in the decree of divorce, it said that if I do not fulfill the parenting classes, which are 5, not 10, that I still have supervised visitation. And then after I fulfill the parenting classes, I have unsupervised visitation.
Sir, how long ago were you divorced?
It's been a year. October 14th, Your Honor.
Are you
Last
telling
year.
me that in the past year you could not go to 5 parenting classes?
Your Honor, I work second shift, and there is no way that, no, I couldn't. Because in the divorce decree, we finally settled on that in October, and I work as a custodian, and I work evenings.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You don't need my stove because you
down.
don't even know how to cook. If it doesn't come out of a box or a can, you don't do it.
What time's your broom fly away?
And later today,
How can I give you what I don't have?
How can you let this man pay your bills?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Melnick is suing her former daughter-in-law, Melinda Sperry, for the return of her appliances.
Listen to me, sir. You have 3 children. One way or another, you find 4 days in a year to complete parenting classes if you are legitimately interested in seeing your children. You have vacation. You take time off without pay to see your 3 children. If that's the prerequisite, and clearly, based upon what I'm hearing, without going into all of the gory details, you had certain problems. And the judge was comfortable in saying to you, if you want to see your children in an unsupervised fashion, you have to do these things. And from what you're telling me, in a whole year, you have not been able to find 5 days to complete parenting classes.
And she still hasn't let me see the children, even under the stipulation, to see the children with supervised visitation.
Well, sir, that's wrong. And I'm telling Miss Sperry that it's important for the children to see their father. You got
yes.
it?
Oh, yes, it is.
You got it? And
Yes,
what
Your
I'm
Honor.
telling you is, if you want to be a father, instead of a supervised father, then you make time to finish whatever prerequisites the court set for you seeing your children, and don't stand there and complain that you're too busy. If you can't find 5 days to go to parenting classes, I don't know when you're going to find 5 days to see your children. That's your responsibility. But I would, more importantly, I would try you and your mother to sit down and to decide that you better stop. You too. Stop what's going on, because that's not good for the children. You know?
Your Honor, on December 11th, her boyfriend and her damaged my husband's car. I have a police report.
Oh, you know, you just
Out
don't
of
get it,
spite.
Miss Melnick. Your lawsuit's dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. You don't know how to take care of those kids. You don't need my stove because you don't even know how to cook. If it doesn't come out of a box or a can, you don't do it.
What time's your broom fly away?
Same time yours does, baby.
And now the next case.
Parties on Boldazar versus Jarvis. Step forward, please.
39-year-old Julie Boldazar wants her ex-husband, cable TV installer Lee Jarvis, 52, to pay the medical costs for their son's broken hand.
How long have you folks been divorced?
4.5, almost 5 years.
And how many children did you have together?
2.
Ms. Baltazar, according to your complaint, one of your sons was visiting with his father.
Yes.
And was injured,
Yes.
playing in the backyard.
Yes.
You want him to cover half of the medical costs that were not reimbursed by your insurance.
Absolutely.
You say it's not your responsibility.
Yes, ma'am.
Whose responsibility is it?
That's a good question, Your Honor.
I only ask good questions.
In our divorce decree, it does not say I'm responsible for medical and dental.
Just a second. In your divorce decrees, does it say that your former wife is responsible for medical and dental?
No, ma'am, it's not.
So your divorce decree is silent as to who's responsible for medical and dental.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
So your former wife says, I am prepared to pay half, Took 2 of you to make a child. I'm prepared to pay half of the medical costs. Doesn't that sound right to you, sir?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
That was easy.
Pretty easy.
Can I see the unreimbursed medical bills, please? Did you add up the unreimbursed amounts?
Yes, I believe it was $1,984.
Total.
Total, yes.
So he owes you for half of that?
Yes, I believe so.
Well, I believe so, too.
Thank you.
When the divorce judgment is silent, Mr. Jarvis, it seems to me you're a parent. You pay child support?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How much do you pay in child support?
The payment is $511 a month.
For 2 children?
Yes, ma'am.
And who carries the insurance for the boys?
My husband, my current husband.
That's really not a lot of money for child support for 2 children. How old are the boys?
15 and 17.
$992. So that's what he owes you for that.
Thank you.
Now, there's another part of your claim that I don't quite understand.
Okay.
You want to explain it to me?
Sure. Both of the boys have, and I'm not sure of the medical term, but in layman's terms, extremely difficult orthodontic cases. Because my husband does carry orthodontic insurance as well on the boys, when it was presented to those orthodontists, they were not able to help us and had to refer us outside of the insurance system. And so we had to seek the services of very skilled orthodontists as well as jaw surgeons. My oldest son in particular is going to have a jaw surgery, which is horrible, very grotesque. Anyway, we didn't really have a choice. This is not a cosmetic situation. This is a medical condition. Because
well, if it's a medical condition, madam, why don't you take that up with your insurance company? Because no insurance company can disclaim, because if you say that this is a very serious condition.
Right.
HMOs very often try to disclaim.
Yes.
What you have to do is you have to fight them. They can't say, we don't have doctors to fix the problem, and the problem is too serious, therefore you have to pay for it. That sounds ridiculous to me.
Right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Well, in this case, Mr. Jarvis, you owe your former wife $992 for the unreimbursed medical bills of your son who was injured. I'm going to suggest to you, sir, that it doesn't look to me by the size of your boys that you have much longer to go with regard to your financial responsibility for them. That means you have to take a second job. Do it. That's what parents have to do. But these are your boys, and minimally half of the responsibility, especially since your former wife's husband is paying for the medical insurance, at least half of the bills that aren't covered by insurance have to be considered yours. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
Bodies on Hickman versus Fraley. Step forward, please.
29-year-old student Wendy Hickman wants her ex-boyfriend, 33-year-old Mark Fraley, to pay her for using her credit cards to repair his Porsche and paying other bills while they were together.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 418 on the calendar in the matter of Hickman versus Fraley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You were together for 4.5 years. You let him use your credit cards. You split up. You don't pay.
Correct.
What'd you give him your credit cards for?
Well, we dated for almost a little over 4.5 years, and he did not have a credit card. So on occasions when he needed to use a credit card...
Why didn't you have a credit card?
I didn't want a credit card. I didn't need one.
You had hers.
Didn't have hers. She had hers.
Did you use hers?
I didn't use hers without her being there. She was
I
there.
didn't mean that you used it without her knowledge and permission. Did you use her credit card?
We used her credit cards.
Did you ever use her credit card for things that was strictly for you?
Yes.
Like what?
Well, some car repairs.
Okay, and that was for your car?
Right.
So you did need a credit card for your car repairs?
Well, at the situation, I didn't really need a credit card. I could have paid for it myself cash. but it was offered the use of the credit card to pay for my car repairs.
So, chivalry being dead, you accepted.
Well, that's a different type of, I wouldn't say that. I'd say that the money was supposed to be used towards a vacation that I was going to be going on with the plaintiff.
How much did you charge on her credit card for your car repair?
About $850.
Did you pay
That
for
would be
it?
actually incorrect.
Okay. How much did he pay?
How much did he pay?
For the car repairs. How much
well,
did he charge on your credit card for the car repairs?
For the car repairs, about $1,400.
And how much of that did you pay?
I'd say I paid probably all of it.
Show me.
I can't show you. I can show you what I did pay, though. I can show you what I've paid over the years. Basically, the plaintiff had my checkbook. She wrote checks for me. She just said, okay, well, this is what we're paying, this is what I'm paying. And I just continued to pay.
Let me just see, sir, your checks for June.
There you go.
Okay. June.
And this is a statement. I paid $908. Your Honor, basically through our relationship, I paid for everything.
What are you showing me here?
Those are copies. I couldn't get canceled checks in time. The bank sent me the wrong statements. So I'm
What?
showing you a bank statement, and as well as a copy of my check ledger, which shows that I paid $908.
I'm not interested in your check ledger, sir. Okay. Now, what about Visa? Let me see the charges on Visa for his car.
They're right here. And I have payments. I mean, he was accredited, this is from October of 95 until July of 96. And there's, in the red, those are his payments. So I gave him full credit for everything that he did or paid. I just want what he owes me plus the interest. It's accrued since. I agree that it's pretty lame that he charged
Pretty
on my
lame.
credit card.
Very lame. Very lame. And
It wasn't a
nobody's
matter of me charging on her card. It's like, I want this, I'm charging on the credit card, and you're paying for it.
Okay. You owe her some money for the car repairs, sir.
But these other charges, are his that he made.
Your Honor,
that
did she...
I would not have said that, yes, go ahead and use my credit
Your
card
Honor,
and I'll pay for this.
On the American Express bill that she breaks down for June, does she break down what would be my charges and her charges? Mm-hmm. Okay, why wouldn't she want to do that throughout our relationship on the American Express bill that I paid?
Why?
We always do.
Just a second. Why?
Yeah.
She did.
No.
But maybe she did it in this month because, you know, you don't break up overnight, sir. Things start going bad in the months before that.
A couple years before that.
Right? Well, then you stayed in the relationship longer than you should have. So. You know, people have to be smart, both men and women. You don't commingle these assets and expect somebody else, courts, to waste their time going through a 5-year relationship, separating who bought Kleenex and who bought toilet paper and whether it was his toilet paper or your Kleenex. That's just not going to happen, madam. You look like an intelligent young woman. You don't let somebody else use your credit card. You
I took his word. I thought
dating
he would
for
pay.
4.5 years isn't being married.
I realize that.
Why, after 4.5 years, weren't you married? Huh?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, Mr. Fraley.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. You broke up in June.
In July.
In July of 1996, correct?
Yes.
What I would like you to do is, assuming that this was valid evidence, which it is not, but assuming it was, I just want you to take out the sheet of payments that you made on the Visa and MasterCard on or after July of 1996.
None.
All right. So that what you're expecting me to believe, sir,
So that everything was paid prior.
is that you were all up to date on the Visa and all up to date on the MasterCard. If that's what you want me to believe.
That's what I want you to believe.
No way. No way.
Your Honor, breakups are never good. I mean, through our 4-year relationship, I paid for, and I think the plaintiff will agree that I basically financially took care of her when we went out.
I would disagree.
Well, she can disagree if she'd like, but since I was making more money than her, I took more of the financial burden, and that was understood.
Except, sir, that when you broke up, there was an $8,000 bill due on Visa.
Okay.
That was a debt. That was a debt that...
Wasn't my $8,000.
Well, but a good portion, at least a portion of it, sir, was yours. A portion of it here has your car repairs, which were extensive, and you were making minimum payments due on the account. So then you break up and you decide, well, I don't have to make minimum payments anymore on the account. I'm not going to make another payment on the account, which is exactly what you did, because there is nothing in your ledger to suggest that after you kissed each other goodbye, you made one additional payment, which is really sort of outrageous.
I never knew how much money I paid all along now.
Well, that's your problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I do believe him when he says that he paid for certain things in cash. Otherwise, you would have been a jerk to stay with him since he was earning 4 times as much as you were, right?
Yes.
Good.
And later today,
You don't, sir, ask her boyfriend to step up to the mic so that you can do fisticuffs with him. It's like Dumb and Dumber.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Hickman wants her ex-boyfriend, Mark Fraley, to pay her back for the use of her credit while they were together.
She's suing you for half of this $8,000, and I don't even know if half of it is yours. But I certainly think that your car repairs are yours. There are a lot of other charges here that are substantial, big ones. You know, did you go to Houma Lodge and Houma, California together?
Yeah, we did.
You went together and you charged that on the credit card, $232, right?
She charged it. I paid it.
You paid.
Okay, she would charge something, I'd bring cash, and I'd pay cash.
Who would you pay cash to?
I'd pay cash for everything else. It wasn't a matter of, okay, let's throw everything on the credit card. I wasn't walking around penniless.
Oh, just a second. I understand. You went to this lodge, and how long were you at the lodge?
Two nights.
Yeah, 2 nights.
2 nights. But truth is, I see what you mean. The lodge is paid for on here, but you also had to eat. You tip people. I assume you didn't go skiing or
I
whatever.
have my
you're
own
doing.
money. It's not like I went penniless.
No, but if he was with you, so I assume he paid. Cash.
No, not necessarily.
You know something? Truth of the matter is, I don't necessarily believe you either. I think that you put some things on your credit card, some things that are clearly his bills. But according to this, you did go on vacation, certain things you put on the credit card. But if you look down the same dates, there are no dates there, like for restaurants going out to eat, so that he probably paid some of the meals in cash, and you put some of the stuff on your credit card. And whether that balanced itself out 50-50 is anybody's guess. You still had an $8,000 nut. Nobody is going to figure this out. Certainly, I am not going to award you $4,000. Because I do believe him when he says that he paid for certain things in cash. Otherwise, you would have been a jerk to stay with him since he was earning 4 times as much as you were, right?
Yes.
Good. So I don't think you look like a jerk. So I'm awarding you $2,000. Consider yourself lucky. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Unbelievable. I was helping him out. He didn't have the money. He didn't have the credit to get a credit card, so I allowed him to use it.
I was making 4 times as much, so how come I didn't have the money?
I don't know. Good question. You just don't say on good faith that I'm going to pay you back, and you don't do it. That's just wrong.
Oh, but it's okay to take and take and take, and then that's all right.
You have a twisted view of our relationship.
And now the next case.
All parties on Welton versus Lunaria Restaurant. Step forward, please.
Harmonica virtuoso Danny Welton is suing restaurant owner Bernard Jacopi for not paying for his performance. Bernard claims the harmonica player's rude behavior caused customers to leave.
Mr. Welton,
Yes, ma'am.
you play the harmonica.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You do that for a living?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
According to your complaint, you had a contract with the defendant to play at his restaurant.
We had a verbal agreement because I...
Am I speaking? You had a contract with the defendant
Yes,
to
ma'am.
play at his restaurant.
Yes, ma'am.
You played there.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't pay you.
That's right.
That's what this case is about.
That's right.
He's got a defense, and he says, you didn't play and you cost him money. So, your agreement was an oral one. How much were you supposed to be paid?
Initially, my band was supposed to get $350 for the band. I was supposed to get 85% of all covers.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I was supposed to be reimbursed for an ad I took out in the Hollywood Reporter.
Mm-hmm.
I got not, and also, something very important and very dear to me, he was supposed to feed my band, and he gave them nothing. Nothing.
No, that's not true. Even according to you, he gave him something. According to you, he gave him stale pizza.
Yeah, well, stale pizza. That was nothing.
They ate it.
They spit it, well, actually, they spit it out.
Mr. Welton, let me explain something to you, sir. We are not going to, in this proceeding, play with each other.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
This was for a one-night performance?
One-night engagement.
And how many shows were you supposed to do in that one night?
2.
And did you do the first one?
Yes, ma'am, and it was packed.
Packed. And then there was a problem, according to you, sir, with the second performance. So why don't you tell me about it?
There was a drunken lady in the audience who started to heckle me.
What did she say?
You know, I'll be honest with you, Judge. I do not recall exactly. If I were to say exactly, I would be wrong.
Okay, so she started shouting things.
That's right.
How long have you been a performer, sir?
All my life. Since
So
I'm 3 years old.
I assume you've had people do this sort of thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
And
what
I
did
know
you
how
do?
to handle them.
So what'd you do?
I start throwing lines back at her to keep her quiet, hoping that would squelch the problem. And her boyfriend got mad at me and threatened to charge the microphone. And I said, come on. You know, he was going to come up there. I was, you know, I wasn't going to back off. I've never taken a half a step backwards in my entire life.
So what happened?
Bernard closed the show at that point.
Bernard, you closed the show down when that's was happening.
We were forced to.
Shh. You closed down the show. Is that right? Very smart. Exactly the right thing to do. So what happened next?
Well, actually, there weren't that many people there because it's kind of an early type supper club. You get your big crowd the first show, and sometimes I noticed that there's never even a second show. The first 2 times I played there, there wasn't even a second show.
Oh, you played there before?
Twice before.
Did he pay you?
Yes, the first time everything went well. The second time, he broke his agreement with me. He did not pay me the cover charges.
But you went back for a third time.
Well, I gave him another chance. You know, I'm kind of a sucker that way.
A sucker who never backs down.
That's right. Kind of an all-day, not-back-down sucker.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Welton marched around the bar screaming profanity that he was not going on until he was introduced because he's a very big star and he doesn't do things this way.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Harmonica virtuoso Danny Welton is suing restaurant owner Bernard Jacopi for not paying for his performance.
You didn't pay him, correct?
Correct.
You didn't pay him anything.
Not even a biscuit.
No, he gave you stale pizza, Mr. Welton. Mr. Jacobi, tell me why you didn't pay him at all.
The agreement was for 3 shows, like every entertainer. He only did once. We had to reimburse the people that were there, and we had to
You
turn
mean
away
reimburse the people for the second show?
for the second show.
For the cover charge?
That's correct. And we had to turn away all the people that were coming for the second and third show. We had to close the bar. We lost bar revenue, and we lost show revenue. In addition to that, his manager that's present had a tab for $80. Here it is, and he signed it saying he was going to pay it the following day, and never did come and pay it.
Well, that's not his problem. He is not his manager's
Well,
keeper.
he was representing Mr. Weldon. And in leaving the property, we have witness here. He assaulted our maitre d'. We have the copy of the security and the police report here. And it doesn't
Who's the
seem-
maitre d'?
I am.
Step up, sir. What is your name?
Gerard Buck.
You have a complaint filed against this gentleman for assault?
I did file a complaint, yes.
How did he assault you?
On the way out, he elbowed me very hard and kicked me.
That is not true.
We called security, made a report, and then filed a complaint with the police. Made a report with the police department.
Were you escorting him off forcefully?
No, you can't go near him. I mean, he's out of control.
If I may, Your Honor?
You are the manager?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
You drink a lot.
Pardon?
You drink a lot.
No, that wasn't just for me. That was for other people in the audience.
Well, but you were buying.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Why didn't you pay the bill?
Because he said he's not going to pay us. And I said, you can deduct it from what you owe us.
Oh, was that what you said?
That's exactly what I said to him.
Oh, so you told him to deduct
the $80 from the amount of money he
from
owed
the
us.
$300.
Well, there were 28, Your Honor, if I may explain.
Sure.
It's a small showroom with a large bar off to the right-hand side of the performers and a large restaurant that opens up during the performances.
Your Honor.
Just a second. What is your last name?
Edel, Your Honor. E-D-E-L-L.
Mr. Riedel, Were you there when this incident occurred with this lady heckler?
Absolutely.
Well, didn't you tell Mr. Welton that he behaved totally inappropriately?
No, I don't believe he did behave
Sure he
inappropriately.
did.
This man threatened him bodily.
No, he didn't threaten him until he started.
Oh, no, Your Honor.
Mr. Riddell, just pay attention to me,
Surely.
sir. He's not a comedian.
Yes, I am.
He's a You are?
He's also a comedian. He's a stand-up comedian, Your Honor.
Listen to me.
Yes, sir, ma'am.
When you're performing, you're in somebody else's house. You, sir, are in his house.
Yes, ma'am.
He has invited guests into his house.
A couple of drunken ones.
That's possible. You weren't playing, sir, in a church. You were playing in a bar restaurant. And somebody was behaving badly.
Excuse me.
Don't say excuse me. I don't excuse you. Pay attention. You don't have to be a genius to figure this out. You just have to use a little common sense. If somebody is drunk in the audience, then what you do is you try not to have that escalate into a dangerous situation. Dangerous either for you, for the other patrons, for members of the band. And if a situation appears to be escalating, then you use good judgment, not that male macho testosterone that I've heard about so much lately. You walk off the stage and you approach the owner or the manager and you say, there's this lady out there heckling me. I just taken a quick break. See what you can do about this lady because I can't continue to perform. You don't, sir. Ask her boyfriend to step up to the mic so that you can do fisticuffs with him.
No, he invited himself up to the mic.
I know you said, come on up here.
Well,
You know, it's like Dumb and Dumber.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're supposed to be in charge. You're
Sober as
supposed
a
to
judge.
exercise good judgment. And good judgment is not closing down the show because you invite somebody to come up to the stage, somebody who is probably drunk because he's with a drunken lady, according to you.
well, he charged the stage, so I said, come on, you know.
You know, Mr. Welton, you keep changing your story. I want to tell you something. You told me your story. You said, I don't back away from anything. He says, I'm going to come up there, and you said, come on. Dum-dum. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge,
Denault versus Denault. Step forward, please.
57-year-old machinist Fred Denault says his son, 40-year-old Rick Denault, owes him for caring for Rick's son, his grandson, 15-year-old Richard.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Sir. Today. Judge, this is number 417 on the calendar in the matter of Denault versus Denault. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
All right. Looks like the cast is as follows. You, sir, are the plaintiff.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your son.
Yes.
Grandson?
Yes.
How old are you?
15.
Is this the grandson in question?
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing your son for support, retroactive support, for a time when your grandson came to live with you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you tell me why he came to live with you?
Well, my son and his wife, ex-wife, called my wife and I and told us that they couldn't control Richard anymore and that he was becoming a street person and he was on drugs and did not going to school. And they decided to get rid of him. They were going to throw him into court, I guess the ward of California till he was 18. They put him in a mental institution in Bellflower, California, and that's where we picked him up at. And my son and daughter-in-law, or ex-daughter-in-law, promised us that they were going to help us to support Richard. And we knew he had a history of drugs. And
When did you have this conversation about support?
this was about 1st of June or so, because we picked up Richard on the 12th.
Of June?
Right.
Well, tell me what the conversation was about support.
Well, that they would both give us $100 a month
to help us take care of Richard. I told my son that I couldn't afford to solely pay it, so that I needed his help to help me with Richard. And he agreed, and so did Brenda, or Michelle, as she's well known now. And we went before a notary, and we signed papers to that effect. I cannot find my copies. All my files are missing, and I don't know why.
You mean copies of papers that say he would pay you $100 a month?
Yes.
And you telling me that that was in writing?
Yes.
Is that true, sir?
No, it wasn't.
So what happened with Richard when he came to your home?
Well, we tried to get him into school because he'd been out of school for over, I guess, 6 months to 7 months. He was flunked in the 7th grade. So I called the governor of Utah and asked them if they could help me to get Richard into some kind of a tutoring program. And I guess through him calling the school in our area and everything, I finally got him a tutor to help him through the summer to get ready for the 8th grade.
How long did he live with you?
Altogether, 11 months. I had him up until December 25th.
What happened in December?
Yeah, we met his father and his father's new wife in Caesar's Palace, I believe it was. And we let Richard reacquaint with his father, and we tried to talk to his father into taking him home with him for a week or two. And he did. And then about a week after he had him, or 3 days or 4 days, something like that, he called me back and said, I'm deciding to keep Richard.
And how long did he keep him for?
Well, he called me back in it's either January or February and told me he couldn't keep Richard in the house. He kept running away. He was starting to ditch school again, if he was in school. I don't think his father put him in school for at least a month or so. And then about a month after that, he called me again and said Richard was a runaway again. He took off in his underwear or his pajamas, I don't know which. And his father was looking for him, but it took him a week to find him.
And then he came back to live with you?
No, then he went to court, and he was being charged for 2 burglaries and a few other things. My son didn't want him anymore, so he had petitioned the court to make Richard a ward of the court until he was 18. They called me and asked me if I could take Richard back to Utah to save him from being a ward of the state of California.
And you did?
I did.
And how long did you keep him at that point?
I had him until October, I believe. My son snuck up and stole him from us.
What do you mean he snuck up and stole him?
He came up while my wife and I were at where she works, and then I get a call from my daughter saying that Rick had just come up there with a sheriff and took Richard with him. And then after that happened, we found a lot of papers missing, our files, a few other things, so I don't know if they prepared this prior to him coming up or what.
Okay, sir.
When Richard went to the hospital, his mother put him in there because Richard was living with his mother at the time. Brenda, Michelle, she came and told me that she put him in the hospital, and I said, well, ask Richard if he wants to come live with me. He said no. So Michelle said, well, how about if he can go with his grandfather? Well, Fred said, yeah, I'll take him. So Richard says, well, I'll go with him. So he went with him because Michelle was going to put him into a placement home.
When did you change your name from Brenda to Michelle?
About, what, 5 years ago?
See, when I was married to her, she was Brenda. So I'm used to Brenda, you know, calling her Brenda. So my Fred took him to Utah with him. And he asked me, well, Rick, are you going to help me? And I says, well, if I have some money, I will send you some money. He says, okay. So he went up to Utah, and I was getting calls from Fred that he was in trouble, sniffing gas and all this stuff. We met in Las Vegas in December, and Fred said, take Richard with you. I want him to get to know you again and all that. I said, okay. So Richard was with me, and he was getting in some trouble with the law and stuff like that. So we went to court, and the court was going to put him into a placement. So Richard says, well, I'll go back to Grandpa's in Utah. So I called him up, and I asked him, I said, Fred, Richard would like to come back to Utah. And he says, okay, I'll take him back. He came down and picked him up, took him up there. And he was having problems with Richard. Richard was sneaking cigarettes, and he asked for the cigarettes back, and Richard said no, so he punched him out. Gave him a black eye. And so I called up there and I asked, how's everything with Richard? And he says, well, I just punched him out because he wouldn't give me the cigarettes. Then he mouthed off and I hit him again. I said, you know, that's not right. Why are you doing that? Well, I'm tired of it. Excuse my French. I'm tired of it. And I said, well, try to understand him, you know. Then I called up again. Then he's over medicating him with Zoloft, 150 milligrams a day. And I said, why are you doing that? She says, well, I'm trying to keep him calmed down. And I talked to my girlfriend, my wife, and I said, well, you know what? Let's go up to Utah and pick him up. He's getting abused.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Stupid isn't written here, sir. They do not send you to NA meetings because you're on Zoloft. Don't say dumb things, especially to me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 57-year-old machinist Fred Denault says his son, 40-year-old Rick Denault, owes him for caring for Rick's son, his grandson, 15-year-old Richard.
Well, just a second. Let's step back a minute. The judge in the court in California permitted your son, instead of going to a juvenile facility, to go to live with your father. Is that correct?
Yes.
He was released to your father's custody, not to yours. Is that right?
Yes.
So you had no right to go and pick him up because he was, in fact, released to your father's custody. Right?
Right.
See, I didn't even read those papers, and I know that. Bird knows that, too, because we've been around the block.
Except, didn't the court said they allowed him to go up there? Isn't that a different phrase? Allowed?
Let me tell you what they did in the state of California. They saved themselves probably $100,000 by not putting him in a facility here at taxpayers' expense. They said, we're going to make it Utah's problem. We'll send him to Utah to live with his grandfather. Let me first discuss with you, sir, your countersuit. I'd like to get that resolved first, which is you're suing for mental anguish for your son. You want $2,000. You don't get a penny. Nothing.
Okay.
Your 15-year-old problem, you visited on your father and mother. They had their own problems. I assume you weren't a piece of cake to raise. You have other children, sir?
Yes.
How many other children?
We have 3 others. And
They raised their children. You were having a problem with your child. So let me tell you what you did. You were having a problem, you and Brenda, Michelle, Sonia, whatever her name is. You were having a problem with your child. You couldn't deal with it. So you call your father. Help me out, take him. Then you take him back. While he's in your care, goes out and he commits a couple of burglaries. Now the courts are going to take him. The courts have evidently decided that you are not fit to take care of him, and your former wife, Michelle, Brenda, Sonia, is not prepared to take care of him. So they call your father with your permission. And he takes him. And he can't control him. Neither could you. So where you get this countersuit from? You've been reading too many fiction books. But let's get to your lawsuit. How much money did you send to your father in the almost year that your son lived there?
$100. Gift certificate for Sears, for JCPenney's.
How many children do you have?
How many do I have?
That was
I
my
have
question.
one.
This one?
Yes.
No, he has 3 others that he don't bother to claim or support.
Just a second. How many children do you have?
I have one.
You don't have 3 others? What is it? You don't
well,
have 3?
I have another child, except she got remarried and she had the child adopted from her new husband.
So that accounts for 1. And what about 2 more?
2 more?
2 more. You have 2 more?
No.
That you don't. I'm not talking about that you see, that you don't see, that you support, that you don't support, that you have.
I have 3. Huh. Well. Huh.
So I assume that since you say you only have 1 child, that I don't even have to ask the question whether you don't support the other 3 children. What kind of work do you do?
I work for a company called West Sanitation, put air fresheners in restrooms.
Okay, and how long have you been working for them?
6 years.
How old are you, sir?
40 years old.
You know, there comes a time when you have to stop visiting your problems on your parents. You've got a lot of other problems. Meanwhile, the one major problem that you have was a 15-year-old child. You asked your parents to take some responsibility for him, and then you had some financial problems, and in a whole year you sent them $100. You know, you can't feed a goldfish on $100.
Well,
he says something rather interesting, sir, in his answer, which I'm sort of curious about. Did you apply for welfare for him when he was living with you?
Yes, I did.
And how much did you collect for welfare while he was living with you?
Esther, you remember?
2, excuse me.
I think it was 2 payments of $250. That was towards the end of '96.
Yeah, I only got 2 up to, they helped me out with 2 months.
2 months, and how much did you receive for those 2 months?
It was a total of 500, because it was $240 a month, so it was quarter 480.
Yeah, because Richard had a $1,200 hospital bill when he was sniffing gas.
Okay, but they paid that.
Right, that's how we had to go for this.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If he cared, he wouldn't be doing what he did to him up there in Utah. Beating him up, you know, giving him too much medication.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Fred Denault wants his son, Rick, to pay him back for caring for his son, Richard.
I have a sense that you haven't seen the last of this responsibility. But right now, it's your son's responsibility. You have a lawsuit before me, and I try to keep things simple. You know, the old KISS principle, keep it simple. Your agreement was for $1,100. You got $480. I am not giving you credit, sir, for the $100 gift certificate that you sent to your son for clothes. It's ridiculous. So I'm awarding you $620. What do you want to say?
He was not with him for 11 months. He was just with him for 9 months. 6 months in 1996 from June to December. Then I brought him back. Then he went back on 5/27 of 97. Then I brought him back 3 months after that.
Is that about right, sir?
Was it 5/27? I'm sorry, I'll stand corrected. It was 5/27.
Okay. So then we have to reduce this award by $200, making the award $420.
Can I say?
Is your son currently under medical care, sir?
No, he isn't.
Why not?
He is. He doesn't need it. He is improved.
Is he in school?
He was going to a non-public school. Yesterday we had an IUP meeting. He is now going to a public school now. I have letters stating.
So he's doing okay?
Oh, he's doing 100% better. 100% better.
Well, that's very good.
He's an A and B student.
Good.
I have his report card.
You doing better?
Yes. And he's going to NA to get off because when he was with my father, he was on that Zoloft for so long. So the courts wanted him to go to NA to get off of it, you know, from the withdrawals and stuff off the Zoloft.
What? Stupid isn't written here, sir. They do not send you to NA meetings because you're on Zoloft.
That's what the
No. They send you to NA meetings, sir, if you're on illegal drugs, not if you're on drug prescription medication that you're taking. They don't send you to NA meetings. What do you, I mean, I'm not stupid.
Well, I know that, so I'm just saying that when I brought him back from Utah, we went to court, and this is what the judge put him.
The judge may have put him there, but not because he was taking Zoloft. Maybe because he was taking a little crack, maybe because he was taking a little cocaine, maybe because he was smoking a little dust. For all those other things, maybe he went to NA meetings. Does that sound right to
Maybe
you?
he was doing
no,
that in
no.
Utah.
Does that sound right to you?
I don't know about
No,
with
I don't
me.
know.
Maybe it was with him because I
Listen.
brought him.
Hey. When you sent him to your father the first time, you sent him there because he was doing drugs, right?
Right.
Ah!
Mother and I.
Yep. Mother.
Mother.
What kind of drugs was he doing?
I don't know. He was living with his mother
Well, you should know you're his father.
because they went.
You should know you're his father.
And he lived across the street from his son.
How could I figure that?
Sir, you should know. And they don't send someone to NA meetings because they're taking prescription drugs. Don't say dumb things, especially to me. But I'm pleased to see that you're doing better. Right?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Seems to me that if it was recently that you spent some time with your grandfather and grandmother, even though you may not think so now, it may have been a good break for you, because if it wasn't for them, you would have been in juvenile hall, right?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
And that wouldn't have been a very good thing.
No.
You wouldn't have liked that, right?
No.
So they really saved you from going to jail.
I went.
What?
I went.
You went to jail. They saved you from spending more time in jail.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Did you thank them?
Yes.
Do you write to them?
No.
Do you think you should?
They told me and my father they didn't want nothing to do with us.
I think your grandparents probably would like to hear from you, even if it's just an occasional note. You think you can do that?
Yes.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue.
On Scott versus Walker. Step forward, please.
22-year-old Sharon Mall Scott claims her husband's cousins, 16-year-old Tiara Walker and 14-year-old Tanisha Walker, stole her boots and jewelry. Tanisha Walker is countersuing for not paying her for babysitting.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 431 on the calendar in the matter of Scott versus Walker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Well, you folks are cousins, but clearly don't like each other. Is that a fair statement?
No, I never said I didn't like them.
That's a fair statement, Your Honor.
I never said I didn't like them.
Well,
I just have a disagreement.
Cousins usually don't resolve their disagreement in court. Mr. Scott, are you part of this lawsuit, sir?
I believe so.
None of this property that was taken is yours. Is that right?
No, the boots and the earrings are not mine.
Sit down.
But I helped contribute.
Sit down. Miss Scott, you allege, I assume, that this young lady stole certain things from you.
Yes, she did.
What do you say she stole from you?
She stole my figure-8 earrings that I had purchased in November. They were diamond-cut figure-8 earrings. And she stole my Timberland boots.
Okay. And you claim, how old are you?
I'm 16.
Your name is?
Tiara Walker.
Tiara?
Yes.
And you say, well, I have the earrings, right?
No, I don't have the earrings.
Who has the earrings?
My little sister, Tanisha.
Where is she? That Tanisha has the earrings.
Yes.
And she'll give them back when she pays $450 for babysitting, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the boots are concerned, you have her boots?
Yes. Yes, I do.
And the reason I took her boots is because she borrowed my sneakers and didn't return them.
Yes. My mother and my sister had to go up there and get them.
But you still have the boots?
Yes, I do.
So why don't you tell me how this family tragedy began?
Well, it all started in November when me and my husband and my 2 children went over Tracy's house for a couple of weeks to stay until my house came through. When I went over there, I took my jewelry off and I set it on the entertainment system. 2 days later, when I went to put my earrings back on, they were gone. I asked everyone in the house, did they know where my earrings was at? Everyone said no, including my husband. I called Tracy while she was at work, and she said she didn't know anything about them. I was hoping maybe she put them on to go to work in or something.
So that was the end of my earrings. I moved out on December 2nd. I got my house. Maybe 2 weeks later, I moved away. And about a week later, Tracy called me saying, Tiara ran away again. Tiara's a runaway. She ran away again, and did I see her, or, you know, did I know where she would be at or anything like that? And I told her no. And as the conversation grew on, she said, and she ran away in your Timberlands, my boots. And I was like, my boots? So, you know, I said, well, you're going to have to get me another pair. She said, no, she's going to have to get you another pair. Tiara's 16 years old. She's a minor.
No, no.
Shh.
I'm sorry.
Shh. Tiara is 16 years old. She's a minor. I don't expect anything to come from her. I expect it to come from her parents. Her husband, Tyrone Walker, said the same thing to me. He told me he would make sure that, you know, I would get my belongings back.
Okay. So it's those two things. It's your boots and your earrings.
Yes.
Step up here. How did you come in possession of her earrings?
Okay. Well, she left them, so I picked them up.
She left them where?
At my house. So I picked them up, and I said, well, Sharon, you know, kept telling me that she was going to pay me for babysitting her baby for her. Okay, I babysat, and I babysat. She never gave me no money for babysitting except for 2 times. So I just said I'd take her earrings just in place, you know, just in place of the money. But I said I will return them when she gave my money.
That's a lie.
Just a second. Who did you say that to? To you? To yourself?
I told my mom, and I told her boyfriend.
You picked up the earrings. What did you do with them when you picked them up?
Nothing. I put them up.
Put them up where?
On top of the refrigerator.
What'd you put them up on top of the refrigerator for?
Because she wasn't getting them back.
She wasn't getting them back?
Yes.
So you stole her earrings?
No, I did not steal them.
Oh, I'm telling you that you did. I'm telling you that you stole her earrings. If she owed you for babysitting, you have the perfect right to say, you didn't pay me the last time for babysitting, and I'm not going to babysit for you again until you pay me. You don't wait until, according to you, she owes you $450 for babysitting.
Said $330. I didn't say $450.
Well, I have a countersuit here for $450.
Well, they must have.
Shh. And that's made up nonsense and say, well, that's the reason that I took the earrings.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yeah.
Sharon had told my daughter on several occasions that she would pay her money for watching her daughter. Okay, Tanisha agreed to it. Sharon knows that my daughter...
No, don't talk to each other.
Twice. She paid my daughter 2 times out of maybe... It was several times my daughter had
Just a
watched
second.
her daughter.
Listen to me. How many is several?
She had written it down. Okay, a total that she has gotten down so far was 9.
Okay.
2 different occasions Sharon paid her for watching her. The rest she did not. Only because my daughter being Tanisha, you know, nice and whatnot, she watched her child. She watched her child.
Is your last name Walker?
Yes, my last name is Walker.
And this is your daughter?
Yes. And she
Are you telling me, madam, that you are condoning, as a parent who's trying to set an example for their children, your daughter taking property that didn't belong to her, hiding it in your house by putting it on top of the refrigerator?
No, I did not.
Fine. Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't want to hear from you. You're a liar. You are a liar. Liar. You're a liar. And your mother is encouraging you.
And later today...
You mean the child was removed from your custody? The child was removed?
She was not removed. She abandoned him. She asked her brother to watch our son, and she left him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sharon Mall Scott is suing Tiara and Tanisha Walker for stealing her boots and jewelry.
Let us say that I believe everything that you said so far, that your daughter babysat for her 9 times and was paid twice. Right?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right. And how much were you paid on the 2 times that you babysat?
Well, she only paid me $20.
$20 one time.
That was for one day.
Yes.
She paid me $10 the other time.
At the time that she paid you the $20, how long did you babysit for her?
Well, Marvin brought the baby over about 10, and she came pick him up like around 7.
10 in the morning, and she came and picked baby up at 7 in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And you babysat for $20 for that period of time.
Yes.
Now, the next time you said she gave you $10.
Mm-hmm.
So how many hours did you babysit at that time?
Well, that time, I said she paid me about $10 for 3 hours because I told her I would watch the baby while she go out and dance.
So let's say it's about $3 an hour. Now, the other 7 times that you say you babysat for her, tell me about them.
Okay, I babysit the baby 3 times. That was for a 1 week period.
What do you mean a 1 week period?
Okay, I babysit her for 1 week. 1 week.
What's a week? You mean for 7 days you baby?
7 days.
7 days?
Yes. I babysat her baby.
From what time to what time?
They brought the baby over on Friday. Came back the next Sunday.
You mean for a whole week they left the baby with who?
Yes, they did. Me.
With who?
Me.
Tell me about that.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
No, it's
My
not.
daughter right now was only 7 months. She hasn't babysat my daughter since, I say about 3-4 months now.
Did you ever leave the
No,
baby?
I did not.
You didn't let me finish the question. How could you answer the question if you didn't let me
Well,
finish?
I'm just saying, I did not. I never left my baby with the minor for a week.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Never.
Did you ever leave the baby with her for a week?
No, never.
Did you ever leave the baby for a couple of days?
No, never. I will always, if she watched my daughter, it would be a couple hours, time period of a couple hours, and I would go pick her up, or my husband would go pick her up.
Let me explain something to you. Tanisha?
Yes.
Your account sued us for $450 for babysitting. That's what you filed.
I filed
According to you,
$330.
let's make it $330 then. So that's even less. According to you, at $3 an hour, which is what you would say you were paid the last time, you would have had to have babysat for her 110 hours. No way. Now listen to me, Miss Walker. I would suggest that you try to tell your daughters that if they have a dispute with someone, they do not resolve that dispute by self-help, which is what your daughter did. Your daughter took property. She stole it. She stole it. It didn't belong to her. She had no right to take it. Absolutely no right to take it. If she had a dispute with regard to babysitting, she always has a legal recourse.
I understand what you're saying. Good. And that's what I told my daughter. But she felt strongly about what she did and the reason for her doing that.
Did you explain to her strongly as her mother that that still wasn't appropriate?
And it wasn't appropriate of her not to pay my daughter either.
Just a second. Miss Walker?
Yes.
You got a problem, madam. Your problem is if your daughter believes strongly in the virtue of her position, you have to explain to her as her mother that whether she believes strongly in it or not, she's wrong. You don't take property that doesn't belong to you because she may have a dispute with your daughter. Put your hand down. I'm not finished with you yet because we're going to get back to the boots.
Your Honor. Also, Tanisha had 2 rings that belonged to me.
Just a second.
2 rings, a pair of earrings, in my boots.
And what about... Well, you're absolutely right. You have 2 rings?
Yes.
Who has rings?
I have them.
You have the rings, too?
Well, she let me hold them.
And she never returned them.
Well,
because what you did to my sneakers. That's why I didn't return them.
You also have her rings because of something she did to your sneakers?
Well, she let me hold them. She never asked me back. She never asked me.
Where are they?
I don't know. They lost.
Now, the rings I was willing to pay for.
Hey! What do you mean they're lost?
They're lost. I don't know where they at. I didn't wear them personally.
Now you. Why did you take her boots?
I didn't take her boots.
You were wearing her boots. It says here that you were wearing her boots.
She left them over my house, Your Honor. So I wore them when I left. But she never did ask me for them back. You never asked me for them back.
Just a second. Did you get back a pair of sneakers?
I had to go get them.
Just a minute. Did you get them back?
I did.
Did you return the rings?
The
yes
rings
or no?
Tanisha lost. I was going
Just
to
a
give
second.
her.
I want you to answer my question. Did you return the rings?
No, I didn't.
Did you return the boots?
No.
Did you return the earrings?
No.
Good. How much did you pay for the earrings, the rings, and the boots?
The earrings was $350. My 2 rings was $100 altogether, and my boots was $129.
Okay. You have receipts?
Yes, I do.
I don't want to hear from you. You're a liar. You are a liar. Among other things, you're lying when you said to me that you lost the rings.
Well, I
yeah,
didn't lose
no,
the rings.
liar. You're a liar.
I didn't.
And your mother is encouraging you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Their mother is right now sowing the seeds of disaster with these two girls.
And later today,
What about the women who abuse guys financially, emotionally, every way they can, you know? And this snake right here has done that to me.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sharon Mall Scott is suing Tiara and Tanisha Walker for stealing her boots and jewelry.
So your entire suit is for $579. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. You don't straighten your girl. I'm just telling you this. You don't straighten your girls out fast. You're going to find yourself standing in court with them a lot.
Exactly.
A lot.
Mind your business.
Hey.
See?
Shh. Don't start up with them. Her mother, their mother, is right now sowing the seeds of disaster with these two girls. She's already getting payback time, big time, with this one who ran away.
7 times.
This one isn't far behind. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $579. Your counterclaim is dismissed because I don't believe a word you say.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You better not go home.
Out the bed.
And now the next case.
Parties on Malden versus Branch. Step forward, please.
37-year-old heavy equipment operator Ray Malden is suing his estranged wife, grocery clerk Catherine Branch, for stealing money orders. Catherine is countersuing Ray for taking all of their possessions.
This is not a very difficult case. I just have a few questions. Are you two people still married to each other?
Yes, we are. I filed papers for a divorce, and it's in default right now.
We both filed papers for divorce, and we're legally separated.
When did you separate?
First time, second time.
Second time.
Probably in October of '94.
Miss Branch, stop playing with your papers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When did you separate for the last time?
For the last time, it was in 1997, I believe. It was in January of '97. I filed papers for legal
I didn't ask you
separation.
when you filed. When did you last live together?
I have the date in my papers. It
You
was
don't
in
remember the
January.
year?
It was in January of '97, I believe.
He says 94. Did you live with him, according to you, in 97?
No.
Did you live with him?
Yes, I did.
Where?
No, I didn't. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry. It was in '95. I apologize.
94, 95. All right. So now we
It's
understand.
in my papers.
You don't have to look. Shouldn't have to look in your papers to know when the last time you lived with your husband was. In what year? 94, 95, 97. That's a wide spread. So you've been separated for
apologize.
several years, correct?
Several years. Yeah.
He says that when he was giving you a lift somewhere, he had just purchased 2 money orders, the amount of $350 apiece,
370, ma'am.
$370, and that you stole them from his car.
Yes, I did. I took the money orders.
Well, you had no right to do that.
No, I didn't.
So then you have to give him back the money. Good. And this is a very easy case.
I have a reason why I took the money orders, ma'am, Your Honor.
There's no reason for taking money. I mean, I read this, and it's you know, you said he left you alone with a baby, and he didn't provide support, and he didn't do all these things. He didn't do all. That's what courts are for. That's why you take him to court. You take him to court for child support. You make sure that he pays it because that's the child's right to be supported.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you don't resort to self-help.
Yeah.
That's stealing.
And
How
I
many
had
children do you have?
I have 2 beautiful boys by him.
Okay. You pay child support, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How much do you pay? You should know that as quickly as you know the date that you separated.
$196.85 a week. That's for 1 child. I just was ordered my first child
that is not
back
true.
into the home. The guardianship that was over my child has been terminated. It was terminated yesterday.
What do you mean the guardianship?
There was, because our marriage was so bad, ma'am, there was a guardianship placed over my first child.
You mean the child was removed from your custody?
The child was removed.
He was not removed. She abandoned him.
Just a second.
She abandoned him.
Whatever it was, the child was removed from your custody.
Yeah.
And the child by the state?
Yeah.
No.
By the courts.
Not by the courts. She abandoned him. She asked her brother to watch our son, and she left him. And I could not get custody of him because of some technology, whoever it was, some things I couldn't do. Anyway, we went to court yesterday, and she did get custody of him. But there has not been any order made yet. and I am paying child support for my second son.
According to you, he's paid.
He's paying for alimony and for the child support for our second son. And on
Well, the first son wasn't with you. The first son was in placement.
No, I've been battling for my first son for the last 5 years.
I don't care whether you've been battling. You didn't have that child in your custody.
Yes, ma'am.
So he's been paying alimony and he's been paying support for the second child.
Yes, he has.
Fine. You had absolutely no right to take this $370 in checks, and that's what it totaled, correct, sir?
$370, yes, ma'am.
$370.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know her past life, her life now. And like I see, she ain't changed nothing. Ain't nothing changed about her except this fake facade she had everyone to believe.
Now, you're countersuing for $2,500 for some items that were purchased during the marriage that he now has. What is that nonsense?
That's all the items like the washers and dryers, the
That'll be handled.
couch.
Listen to me. That'll all be handled in your judgment of divorce.
That's what I thought.
That's what
and
it
that's what I
will be.
thought, that the $370 would be handled in that area.
No,
also.
that you stole. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $370. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next judge
versus Burgoon. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Valerie Ricker is suing former roommate, 20-year-old Amber Burgoon, for damages to their home and property. Amber is countersuing Valerie for assault.
We're suing each other for. All I know is that the two of you decided to live together for a period of time. Each of you has a child. Is that right?
Correct.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
And how old's your child?
3.
Terrific. And how old are you?
I'm 20.
And how old's your child?
4.
Oh, what an America. Anyway, you decided to live together. It didn't work out, and each of you wants $5,000 from the other. That's the only thing that I could figure out. You're suing for $5,000, you're countersuing for $5,000. You have 5 minutes, I'm watching my clock, to explain to me why you're suing her for $5,000.
I am suing Amber because when she asked me to move in with her, my agreement with her was the only way that I will move in with you is if Louie is not there. There is no drugs in the house. I do not want your dog there. I do not like dogs.
Louie is the boyfriend?
Yes, that is her boyfriend. She said, okay, he won't be there. The dog will be gone. And Mr. Lopez, the owner of the property, does know that you will be living here. Well, none of the above happened. She didn't let the landlord know that I was there. My mother spoke to the owner of the property, and he said, no, I did not know. There's 8 people living in a 3-bedroom house. Okay, the dog has attacked the mail lady and another mailman, a substitute. I told her, Amber, you know, it's not fair. We don't get our mail because of your dog. Take care of it. I told her, split the bills up evenly. She didn't. Her boyfriend was there 90% of the time. If it wasn't her boyfriend, it was her brother, 13 years old, not in school, watching TV, playing video games, eating the food. She didn't pay for any of the food. One time, $30. The rest of the food was bought by me. The electricity, I'm not paying for her boyfriend and her brother. She wants to divide it up evenly, divide it up by 8. Her brother, her daughter, her boyfriend, my daughter, me, and the other 2 roommates. That's how it should be divided up. If she's charging for us, for her boyfriend to be there and her brother to be there, that's what I think.
Why didn't you move out?
I gave her my 30 days notice.
Just a minute, how long did you live there?
I lived there for a month.
So what are you suing her for?
Because she had broken my bedroom window trying to move her stuff, or her boyfriend's stuff, and because it was raining and the weather damage, she said she would get it fixed. As a landlord, she has to.
Why didn't you put a cardboard there?
I put up a piece of paper. She told me, take it down. I'm going to get it fixed today. She never got it fixed.
Just a second. You go into a store, you buy a piece of plastic, you put it up on the window. So what you're suing for is for damage that was done to some of your things because of the broken window.
Because of the weather.
Because of the weather.
Because the weather came in through the broken window.
Okay. So that's what you're suing her for?
Yes.
Okay. And what was damaged?
My VCR. I have a statement, an estimate from the company.
You have a VCR,
for
what else?
$99, brand new, I just got for Christmas.
And what else?
And my TV. The TV, they said, unfortunately, there was nothing wrong with it. It had dried out. The moisture had dried out.
$114 it says on here.
$114. So where do you get $5,000 from? Well, it's a nice round number. Now, what are you suing her for?
I'm basically suing her for the money she owes me for what she didn't pay rent. She put a stop payment on the check. She did beat me up in my own home, in my hallway. She and her mother have assaulted my boyfriend. My boyfriend was not there. You know, that was not the great.
Tell me,
my dog
what are
was
you
there.
suing her for?
I'm just suing her, you know, to protect myself. My property was damaged. I had to pay for that when I moved in. I'm forced to move out of my home.
That's
a
what I want.
restraining order against her.
Tell
for
me
3
about the
years.
assault, madam.
The assault, she assaulted my boyfriend.
I don't care about your boyfriend.
Okay. She assaulted me when a friend of hers came over. I did not know it was a friend of hers. I opened the door, and, you know, somebody was knocking on my door. I opened it. There's a girl standing there, and she comes walking into my house. She comes out of the bedroom, and I say, you know, I turn around, I told her, I say, I hope you don't have any plans to spend the night. Because we've been going through a lot of problems in the house with Valerie, you know, and yelling and screaming at everybody.
So you said, I hope she doesn't plan on staying through the night. And what
Right. I
happened?
told her, I said, I hope you don't have plans on staying the night here. And she goes, yes, she is, and started cussing at me and F you, Amber, you know. And I said, well, I just want to tell you that I'm going to pay your half of the gas bill, you know, for my boyfriend taking showers, my brother taking showers. I pay your half of the gas bill, you know, for my boyfriend taking showers, my brother taking showers here. On my face, I kicked the bottom of the door once, and I said, look, don't slam the door, I'm trying to talk to you. She came out with full fists, pinned me in a corner in my hallway, and started hitting me and pulling my hair and kicking me, and it took 3 people to pull her off of me.
You have medical bills?
Yes, I do.
Let me see them. You want to tell me about this assault incident?
Your Honor, my best friend, she's right here, came over because we were going over to some boy's house that night. She came, she knocked on the door, said to her daughter, oh, she's so cute. Is that your daughter? How old is she?
Hi, Judy. My name is Marilyn Embry. I'm a friend of Valerie's. I came over to her house. It's been the second time I'd come over there. I didn't know the problem was that bad between the two of them. I knocked on the door. She was kind of rude when she opened the door. I said, hi, is Valerie here? She said, yes, she is. And I said, oh, is that your daughter? She's really cute. She didn't respond to me. Valerie came outside. I did have an overnight bag.
Stop playing with the papers, please.
I had an overnight bag, but I had no intentions on spending the night. I thought maybe because we were going to come back late. I didn't know it was going to be that big of a deal. Well, she said, I hope you don't plan on spending the night. Valerie says, yes, she is, and I don't think I need to talk about this with you anymore. Her and I walked down the hallway into her bedroom. She was still yelling, and Valerie's yelling back, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it. We go into her room, she shuts the door and locks it. She's still screaming, don't effing slam the door in my face. She kicks the door maybe once or twice. I really don't know how many times. Valerie opens the door because she thought the door was going to break. I thought the door was going to break. Well, her daughter's standing right next to her the whole time she's doing all this, and she's a little girl. We opened the door. She pushed Valerie. Valerie pushed her back. They both started fighting. It was mutual. Yes, Valerie was hitting her more times than she was hitting her, but I mean, we assumed that she was really going to hurt Valerie. She came to the door and kicked the door. I started pulling them apart, and then her little brother came out, and I just kept trying to break it up, and then the rest of the roommates came out, but she didn't want to attack her or anything.
What you're saying was she came to
That
the
I
door.
saw it,
She
yeah.
came to the door. She kicked at the door. When she opened the door, she
Yeah.
pushed her first. She
Right.
pushed her back, and they started to fight.
Right.
And she was punching her more than she was getting punched. Judge, that's what you just said?
Yes.
That doesn't make any difference.
Your Honor.
Who was winning the fight doesn't make any difference.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She's quite responsible.
Oh, yes.
And later today,
Everybody is out to make a buck on somebody else's sorrow, sadness, hopes, dreams, aspirations. Yours is one of the worst kind.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valerie Ricker says her former roommate, Amber Burgoon, damaged her home and property. Amber says Valerie assaulted her.
What else are you suing her for?
That is all.
Good. It's easy. Does it look?
I have something to add to it, if I might, please.
About what?
About the situation with the altercations, the trouble with Valerie.
What's the difference of the trouble with Valerie? Madam, you're her mother?
Yes, I am.
Why wasn't she living with you and your grandchild?
Because she's an adult and she can
She's not an
pave
adult.
her own way.
She's not an adult. She's a teenager with a 3-year-old child.
She's quite responsible.
Oh, yes. Who do you work for?
I work for Vaughn's.
And you make enough money to take care of you and your child?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yes,
She's
I do.
on
Who-
ABC.
Yes, I also am on aid.
So you get
Because
welfare?
I'm on aid, plus I work because my child's father does not want to
Just a
support
second.
her.
Just a second. You get welfare and you work at Vaughn's,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you think that that's totally responsible. That's why she's a mature adult. That's why she's not living with you with her grandchild. So you allowed your grandchild to go and live in a house where there were 8 other people living.
No, there was not 8 other people
There wasn't
living there at
supposed
the
to be 8
time.
people.
See, that's what.
Just a second. How many times did you go over there to see the living conditions?
Numerous times. Every day I was there.
Well, if you were living there and your daughter is telling me that there were 8 people living in this house and a vicious dog, why didn't you take your daughter and your grandson after a day and say this is not an appropriate place for you to live?
We did.
And should she come home?
Yes, I
Yes,
did.
No, she didn't. She said she stayed there for a month.
in my house after the point.
She said she stayed there for a month. So I don't see the reason for a lawsuit. I don't see where you get $5,000. I don't see where you get $5,000. You tried living together. It didn't work out. You went home to your parents. Correct? Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Bartnoff versus Talon. Step forward, please.
40-year-old salesperson Barbara Bartnoff claims matchmaker Linda Talon scammed her by charging for photos and falsely promising dating services. Linda says Barbara was never guaranteed a date.
Miss Bartnoff, you were interested in meeting some nice gentlemen.
Correct.
And how did you find the defendant's service?
In a magazine, it's called The Journal,
Can
which
I
circulates all over Los Angeles.
Do you have the ad?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Now, why don't you tell me what happened when you responded to this ad?
Well, when I called up Ultimate Encounters, as described as it states in her magazine advertisement that the service is free for women. So I called her up and she gave me the pitch over the phone, how she has thousands of men inside her catalog, and, you know, they're all professional, they earn well over $100K, and she invited me down to her home, and she works out of her living room, which is located in Redondo Beach. And I went down there and she described me her service and how she has years of experience of psychology and sociology, and how she's must have set up, you know, 90%. Anyway,
Wonderful, and it wasn't going to cost you anything because the men pay.
Well, when she told me the service for women was free, however, you have to pay a fee of only $165 to have your photographs taken at her photography studio located in Hollywood. And you don't have the option of going to your own service. You have to go to hers. You don't even have the option of bringing in your own photographs.
Did you at any time ask then how she made a living? I mean, how does she make her money?
What she does is that she contacts all these men that she has in her catalog, tells them about our profile and background. If they like what they hear, then they go down to her house, review our photographs. Then they instruct her, I want to meet this woman, that woman, this woman. And then she contacts the women and said, this guy wants to meet you, this guy wants to meet you, this guy wants to meet you.
That sounds all very nice. How do you make your living? Do you charge the men?
Yes, Your Honor. Depending on how long they join, Your Honor, they pay anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000. Depending on how long they join, Your Honor, they pay anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000, depending on the length of the membership, depending on the amount of guaranteed introductions they receive. The women pay absolutely no membership fee whatsoever. Period.
So let me figure this out. So you went down and took your photographs.
Correct.
And paid the $165.
Correct.
And nothing happened.
Correct.
Didn't get a call.
I got nothing from her. Every single month I called her and I go, hey, what's up? What's going on? Anything yet? And finally, after the 4th or 5th month, I finally got her on the phone because every time I called her, I always got her machine.
And she said you weren't picked.
Well,
in effect, that's what she said. I mean, I'm not being unkind to you, right?
Right.
That's what she said to you.
Well, she said a little bit more than that.
Well, I'd like to hear what she said.
She goes, well, I asked her, hey, Linda, what's going on? It's been 4 or 5 months. You know, you gave me the impression that you were going to set me up with all these guys, you know. And she said to me, listen, you had you read your contract, the service fee was free. I work for the men who paid me a service fee of $5,000, and had you paid me $5,000, I would get off my butt tomorrow and start look for someone for you. And I would get off my butt tomorrow and start look for someone for you. And why don't on me? You know, and I'm just going, real nice woman. So I called her back up. I go, Linda, listen to me. All I want to know, how many men did you potentially introduce me to?
What did you call her back for?
Well, I was just kind of curious. How many men did she present me to? Yeah. 1, 2, 5, 50?
I don't want to hear you anymore. I really don't want to hear you anymore.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
That, madam, is a kickback. Do you tell them you're getting a kickback
No,
from the
I do
photographer?
not.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Barbara Bartnoff says she was never called for a date. Now she wants matchmaker Linda Talon to return the money she spent on photos for the dating service.
How many women like this paid you $165 to have their photographs taken?
I've been in business for over 6 years. This is the first time this has ever happened.
Well, maybe because the other ones were embarrassed.
I would say probably 500.
Why did you need a certain photographer to take the pictures?
The way that I do that is because when the men review the files, they're very visual. I can guarantee they have not been airbrushed or retouched. They feel comfortable when they go and meet the women for dinner, that they will not look different, they will not be disappointed.
Well, listen, just a second. We may talk a good game. I guarantee you on your best day, you're not as smart as I am. You are seeing the product in your office. If the product comes in, the lady product, you don't mind if I refer you, for the purposes of this argument, as a product, you can see what they look like. And if they bring you a photograph and say, well, here are my photographs, and you look at it and say, babe, this is airbrushed, or this looks like you when you were 12, can we get some more updated pictures? They can go out and do that. So that's the assurance that you need because you're meeting the person. She came to your home/office. So why does she have to take pictures for $165?
I just explained to you so the men feel...
Baloney! Because what you're saying to the men is, I've seen this person. They come to your home/office and they look at the photographs, and what you're saying is, I have seen this person, and this photograph is a fair and accurate representation of what they look like. I wouldn't allow a photograph to be placed in here of somebody that's 10 years old. So you're a scam artist because you're using this photography business as a way of making money.
I disagree.
Your service... Oh, no. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. Cost her $165, and she got absolutely nothing from it. She's perfectly attractive, upbeat kind of gal. People would know that she's an upbeat kind of gal from a photograph, but she's certainly a perfectly attractive lady. She spent $165 and got absolutely nothing from you because, as far as I'm concerned, you're operating a scam.
Can I interject, Your Honor?
Yes.
Charges $3,000 with 0 guarantees, and they make you go to that one photographer for $250, like it or not, no guarantees. I personally got married through them.
Well, I want to tell you something.
So they do the same routine. So
I
what
want
I'm
to tell
doing...
you something. Just because one company is scamming for $250 and one company is scamming for $165, that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it right. And I'm not even going to ask you how much of that $165 ends up in your pocket. Because I don't like people to commit perjury. Dear.
Your Honor, there were no guarantees
Did you hear what I said? You want me to ask you the question? How much of that $165 ends up in your pocket?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Ms. Talon, how much of that $165 ends up in your pocket?
Very little.
Ha! Very little ain't nothing. So what you said is a free service. It's not a
free membership. Free membership.
God, Ms. Talon, you know, everybody is out to make a buck on somebody else's sorrow, sadness, hopes, dreams, aspirations. Yours is one of the worst kind. And the other companies that you talk about who do the same thing are also among the worst, because they're taking people who are really looking to make a life for themselves, who say, I want this. And whether it's your place, great hopes, great dreams, whatever else they are, they're saying, pay us $165, pay us $250, there's no membership fee, just go. Or $20 or $50 of $165. I'm not asking you that question because it's really not important how much you get. You've already told me you get very little, which means you get something. That, madam, is a kickback. Do you tell them that? Do you tell them you're getting a kickback from the photographer? Good. $165. That's what you're suing for. That's what you get. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next...
All parties on Haskett versus Woolfolk. Step forward, please.
Jeff and Lori Haskett say neighbor Carol Woolfolk slandered and defamed them in a letter circulated throughout their neighborhood. Carol is countersuing the Hasketts for discrimination and harassment.
Has defamed you by sending out a series of letters about you to neighbors and one to an employer. Do you have copies of those letters?
I certainly do.
May I see them, please? Did you write this letter?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And who did you circulate it to?
Only to the tenants in the park and the people that CC'd on there. No employers. That's not true.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a lot of things in this letter. It's sort of a rambling letter. But there are several things in here that I want to address specifically. Show me proof of arrests for driving while under the influence of alcohol.
I can't show you proof of that. It's something that she...
No, did she... Just a second. Did you
About
have
this?
any written proof that she or her husband have arrests...
I didn't say her husband. I said she specifically.
She has arrests for driving under the influence.
No, this was something that she told me
She
specifically.
has arrests for driving under the influence.
No, this was something that she told me. If it's a lie, she told it.
Did you ever tell her that you were arrested for
Yes,
driving?
sir, I did.
Why did you tell her that?
Okay, because...
Was it true?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
But that's my business.
Just a second. Loss of custody of her child. Welfare fraud.
Again.
Welfare fraud.
Again, something she admitted to.
That's not true.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
This is something she admitted to. I have witnesses to that, too, Your Honor.
Yeah, oh, no, I never committed fraud.
Just a second.
Oh, no.
Eviction after eviction the last several years.
Okay, can I tell you why some of these things I know? Over the past few years, I worked legal at some time, and they were thinking about having me do a bankruptcy for them, okay? And this is all the information that came out during that time when they were trying to tell me about their bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miss Woolfolk, I have a couple of questions. I mean, there are a lot of things in this letter that suggest that you people don't get along as neighbors.
Don't at all. You're right.
And that you intend to pursue this matter legally, and that, according to the letter, you are trying to get a restraining order against the plaintiffs. Just pay attention. You are trying to get a restraining order against them to stay away from you and your property.
Exactly.
And I assume that the thrust of this letter, you say, which brings me to the focal point of this letter, that you are trying to get a restraining order and request the assistance of, I assume, all the people that you sent this letter to. Should you see either one of these two people in or near my property, please call 911.
That's correct.
Right?
Continue Harassment,
Just a second.
intimidation.
So my question to you is, what do the following things have to do with you? DUI arrests, loss of custody of her child, welfare fraud, eviction.
What did they have to do with me personally?
Yes.
Or the sale.
Shut.
Okay. They had nothing to do with me.
Good. So
Okay.
what do they have to do with the focal point of this letter?
The focal point of the letter was to say these people are intimidating me, these people
Well, you've
are
said no.
harassing me.
You've said that.
That these people are accusing me of calling a social worker. Did you read that part?
No.
They're accusing me of turning them into welfare fraud.
No, listen to me. I'm not addressing that.
Okay.
I'm looking at this letter, and you say that they have done and said a lot of very hurtful things, hurtful and harassing things
Yes,
to you.
that's true.
None of which is germane to any of these acts that you attribute to them. The DUI arrests, the
Right.
loss of custody, welfare fraud, anything else. That doesn't have anything to do with what you're complaining about. So you gratuitously put that in this letter.
No, that's
Sure, I understand what you're saying. I think you're full of baloney.
Yeah.
I think that you put this in the letter just to embarrass them. Sure, I understand what you're saying. I think you're full of baloney.
Yeah.
I think that you put this in the letter just to embarrass them.
Well, she needs to be
No,
embarrassed.
no, just to-
you know, I wanted to keep her from intimidating me anymore.
No, okay.
I wanted to stop her from
Okay.
harassing me. She
Okay.
stayed in the house 3 weeks, and that
Okay.
was fine
Now,
with
just
me.
a second.
She should have been embarrassed.
Hey,
I was
hey,
humiliated, embarrassed.
hey, just a second. You want to say something? You're dying to say something.
Yes, I am.
Well, stand up.
That's not true, Your Honor.
What's not true?
This woman is harassing her.
I haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay, well.
Just a second. I'm talking about this letter. That's what I'm talking about. That's the first thing I'm addressing.
I
I'm going to address
understand.
everybody's
I
complaint.
understand that.
I'm addressing this letter. And I absolutely understand that if any of this is true, it's conduct that should not be tolerated. If any of this harassment is true, it should not be tolerated.
Right.
What I'm addressing is the gratuitous,
She's saying I shouldn't have said that.
gratuitous statements in here
Okay.
about them that had absolutely nothing to do with the problem of harassment. You got it? Do you
I understand that. I understand.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I wrote the letter in November. This recording was made January the 15th.
Read the you wrote. Carol, watch your back.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeff and Lori Haskett are suing Carol Wolfo for defaming them to their neighbors. Carol claims the Hasketts make discriminating remarks against her.
You have a counterclaim.
Yes, I do.
You have typewriter estimate, $150.
Correct. That's the typewriter that
That's
they've
the
had since November the 7th.
How did they get the typewriter, Miss Wolfo?
They came over. She came over first and asked me to loan it to her. I have two.
I didn't. Shut up.
Lie. I'm sorry. Okay, I told her no. So, of course, he comes. Jeff, I never have a problem with. Never have. It's her. Jeff asked. I said, Jeff, how long you want to use it? A week? Fine. Time went by. Jeff, you going to bring it back? Yeah, I'll bring it back. Didn't show up. Didn't show up. When is he going to bring the typewriter back? When they feel like it. This was her. This is when she came to my house, knocked on my door, cussed me out, told me she was not giving me the typewriter back. I was all these slanderous things. She scratched my car with her keys and then ran home with her daughter.
Okay, now let me stop you right there.
Okay?
Okay, let me stop you right there. I assume, Miss Wolfo, from what you say, there was a time when you had a reasonable relationship enough with these people so that you just listen.
Okay.
You had a reasonable enough relationship with them or with him.
With him, yeah.
To lend him your property, a piece of valuable property.
Exactly.
What happened?
How can I put this delicate? It's not him, okay? If it was him, I would have got the typewriter back. It's been gone since November 7th. This is January.
Okay, but is that what caused the problem, the typewriter?
Yeah, that was her. She wouldn't return it.
Just a second. Is that what caused the problem, the typewriter?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
She cussed me out over a typewriter.
Okay. Now, would you please take the typewriter from that side and put it on that side?
No, you leave it over there. I don't want it back. I replaced it since November because it's something I used.
Let me see the receipt for the replacement.
They've had it since November. I use it to do like evictions and things like that.
Shh. Hey.
You don't know what I have.
Hey. This is an estimate of repairs.
Yeah, because I bought a used
dated
one.
1/28/97.
I really got that today. Yes.
You got it today?
Yeah, I got it today.
Return the typewriter to her. Just a second. Let us move on. Let us move on. Loss of wages, $1,800. And you say you loss of wages for what, Ms.
Because they took me to court for this frivolous lawsuit.
Which frivolous lawsuit?
This one that we have here. This one here where it all started over typewriter where they could have returned it, you know, and the thing would have been gone away. This walking down the driveway calling me all these MF, you know, I don't have to take that.
Who's they? Who's
you know,
they?
Her, not they.
Not
her. Her specifically.
Okay.
Her specifically.
Just tell me white trash.
And then,
wait a second. Miss Haskett, did you ever say those words?
No. No, I didn't.
No. Well, you were, just a second. You were going to say to me, no, I never said them in front of my daughter. That's what you were going to say, right?
Right.
Just a second.
White trash. That's what she called me, white trash. My kid heard it, too.
That's not...
All they do is pick on my kid.
That's not my style.
Can't even play outside because of you guys. Because you go out and you call
Can you ask me, Miss Haskett, I want you to answer a question for me, madam. Why didn't you return the typewriter?
No!
Not you. Because we paid her $20 to do a bankruptcy in January of the year before.
Just a second. Okay. You paid her $20. You paid her $20 in January of... You paid her $20 in January of 1997 to do a bankruptcy for you. Slowly. And then what happened?
She never did it.
So, she never did the bankruptcy for you for $20. Hey!
I'm sorry.
I want you to be quiet.
I'm quiet.
So you borrowed her typewriter. You did.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm still waiting for you to tell me why you didn't return the typewriter.
Because she never finished the bankruptcy.
So you decided to keep her typewriter. And that's what all this trouble started over. Come. Because if this lady was supposed to do something for you and you paid her $20, come. Because if this lady was supposed to do something for you and you paid her $20 and she didn't do it, you had several choices. You could have either written it off, you could have written her a letter, and you could have said, I want my $20 back.
We did.
And if she didn't give it to you, you could have sued her. But what you chose to do is take her very expensive machine and keep it, according to your wife, sir, unless you're calling your wife a liar.
No, but
You're calling your wife a liar?
No, I'm not.
Well, that's what she says. She says she kept...
Sentence.
What?
I'd like to finish what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
This $150 typewriters of hers, she kept outside in the yard.
The rain.
It was an extra. It was rusty. It never...
What does that have to do with you? Whether she keeps it outside, whether she keeps it hanging from her... What does that have to do with you? Whether she keeps it outside, whether she keeps it hanging from her tree, whether she wants to wear it as a lorgnette around her neck. It's her typewriter. She can do whatever she wants with it. You went over and borrowed it.
Bingo.
Don't irritate.
I'm sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You cannot prove without a voice expert, because I'm certainly not
I'll
a
gladly
voice
bring my
expert.
phone bill and that'll prove it too.
Do I look like I need help from you?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeff and Lori Haskett say their neighbor, Carol Woolfolk, slandered them. Carol says they harassed her.
It was very, very wrong of you to write this letter. Because it's not right to divulge things that have been told you in some sort of a confidence.
It wasn't a confidence.
Sure it was. You just
No,
told...
they knew.
No, listen to me.
Everybody knew.
Hey, I'm really smart.
Okay.
All right? You just told me 5 minutes ago, and my memory is totally intact, that you found out certain of this information when you were
eviction.
preparing their bankruptcy. So that was told to you in what we call a fiduciary relationship, which means you were preparing papers for them and you found out certain information.
Can I say something?
Nothing. You have to acknowledge that it was the wrong thing to do to put that thing in this letter.
When you're angry, maybe sometimes you do wrong things.
That's
Okay.
right. So you were angry.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what the officer told her to do. She called
Well,
Gardena.
he didn't tell me specifically to do that.
Of course she did. Why don't you just sit down?
But he did tell me to write the letter.
Hey, why don't you just sit down?
But he did tell me to write the letter to stop the intimidation and harassment.
Listen,
He suggested.
I said to you, there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
writing the
exactly.
letter. The problem was the other things that you put in the letter. That
Yeah,
you,
you know, you're angry. You're angry.
That's
You've been
absolutely
wrong.
Way of doing
You know,
criminal activities,
people.
like selling food stamps.
Hey,
She bought them.
listen.
You're a liar.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You don't come into court, sir, with clean hands. Neither you nor your wife. You know what that means? It means that you started this problem. She reacted to it, but you started it. And you started this because you did the wrong thing. Now, you say that you have received death threats.
Yep.
And you wanted me to hear, I assume, something on that tape recorder.
Carol, that's the people up front. I've read the you wrote.
In a letter.
You are not going to get enough until we come through that brilliant. Carol, watch your back.
Does that sound like my voice?
141.
We didn't do it. Prove it. Go
Let's
to the
tape my
company, prove
voice
it.
on there right now
I swear on
and
the
see
Holy
what it
Bible, I
sounds
didn't do it. We are not that dumb. We took it to court.
I wrote the letter in November. This recording was made January the 15th.
Doesn't matter.
Which means everyone in the park had a copy of that letter and had gone on, like about the typewriter. Actually, Your Honor, I forgot about it. They could have kept it. I had another one that I was using. Life goes on.
Miss Woolfolk, I am presented with a really serious problem in this case. Each of you is suing the other for $5,000. You cannot prove without a voice expert, because I'm certainly not
I'll
a
gladly
voice
bring my
expert.
phone bill and that'll prove it too.
You could have called for
Watch
more.
just a second. Do I look like I need help from you?
Sorry.
You cannot prove without a voice expert
That's true.
that this recording, as disgusting as it is
Yeah.
made by anybody standing on that side of the table.
I cannot prove that. You're
Right? So what I have here is a situation where these people started a problem. They started a problem by taking your property and not returning it. Clearly wrong. I absolutely believe, because she says it, that she called you vicious names, she says, in front of her daughter. So that makes it okay.
Oh,
Hey.
that's not true. I'm sorry.
Could you speak, please?
Just
That
a
is
second.
not true.
Is that true, Kara?
That is not true.
Just a second.
That is not true.
You're not even listening.
I am.
What I don't.
That's not
what
true.
What's, you mean?
That is not true.
I told you to sit down.
Yeah, well, I'm just.
I told
that's
you
not
to
true.
sit down. Do you understand
That's
what I
not
said? Because
true.
this lady is not wrapped too tight
Yeah.
because she doesn't understand
Yeah,
what
I'm
I
not
said.
wrapped too tight.
You
That's
said-
not true.
Put her out.
Ma'am, step up. Oh, this way.
I don't care.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, Mr. and Mrs. Haskett, you want $5,000?
Yes, ma'am.
You get $5. That's what you're going to get. You started this problem, and that's what you're going to get, $5, which, madam, you are going to have to pay them. Do you understand? $5.
So I get harassed and I get
Just a
nothing.
second.
Okay.
Just a second. Now, you have a counterclaim.
That's right.
And she has acknowledged that she called you names which are terrible.
Made life uncomfortable.
Made life
Not
uncomfortable.
as uncomfortable as you're making it for my daughter.
And you have a legitimate complaint against them. So I am awarding you on your counterclaim $5. You understand? You people had better stop torturing each other. You did the absolute wrong thing. She did the wrong thing by circulating those things in that letter against you. She did the wrong thing. She acknowledges she did the wrong thing.
Yeah,
she says she was angry.
Yeah.
She was angry because of the way you were treating her. And you were treating her in a miserable way, considering the fact that you started all the trouble over this stupid machine.
Don't work.
See, it don't work.
We each have a judgment for $5 against the other. Thank you very much. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Yeah. Party's on. Greg versus Allison. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Kimberly Gregg claims 20-year-old Jordan Allison, the father of her child, smashed her radio. Jordan says Kimberly threw his television out the window.
Your boyfriend?
Yes, it was.
For how long?
Around 2 years.
Did you live together?
Yes.
You have any children?
Yes, we do.
How many?
1.
How old?
14 months.
How old are you?
19.
And how old were you when the baby was born?
18.
What kind of work do you do?
Assembly work.
How old are you?
20.
Terrific. So you got into some big fights in the house, is that right?
He was the one always starting fights. He always used to break everything in my house. And he owes me a lot more than what I'm suing him for, but I didn't think I would have a good chance because the only proof I got is a radio that he had given to me after he broke my new one.
Well, so let me understand this. Because your complaint says he broke your radio.
Yes.
He says, I did. Why did you break her radio?
I was off. You know what I mean?
Didn't you know how to say that another way?
I was off, though.
Wait. All right. So you broke her radio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you bought her a new one.
Well, I got it off my brother. My brother gave it to me, and I gave it to her.
So you have a radio.
I can show it to you. It was all, first of all, it doesn't rewind. It eats up your tapes. It gets only 2 stations.
No, it works. You can plug it in right now. I'm trying to tell you.
Did you throw a telephone of his out the window?
No.
It was a TV, but
A TV, excuse me. I
had a console, but I'm dropping that because I ain't worried about the $300 or whatever it was.
Did she throw your TV out the window?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I guess she was mad because I didn't go home or something.
Excuse me, Your Honor, but I can't pick up a $300 TV. It's in his mother's house, and he probably watches it every day. And he probably watches it every day. And he
Well, what did you throw out the window?
I've never threw anything of his
My
out
clothes,
the window.
my
'cause
CDs,
I was scared
my
of him, for one
TV,
thing. I couldn't
all
throw
my
anything of his
Well,
out
what?
the window.
All my stuff.
He's broken my kitchen set. He's broken glass tables. He's broken through my window.
She's bugging. I never broken her house.
Miss Gregg, how long did you know him before you decided to have his baby?
It was my mistake, and I understand
How long
that.
did you know
like,
him?
It was about a week.
No.
And then,
no.
And then she was like, yeah.
How long did you know him?
Around 9 months.
It was like a week, but she got pregnant in like 9 months.
It only takes 9 months to have a baby.
Yeah, I'm saying, but after
I
like a
got
week, she was
pregnant.
like, oh, don't use no condoms, whatever. I was like, nah, I want to use condoms. And
First of all, I
like,
wouldn't. I'm sorry.
and she was like, nah, we ain't gonna do nothing if you use condoms. So I was like, all right, then.
Ay, 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 ay. Mr. Allison.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest to you, sir, you're 20 years old.
Yeah.
There are ways of expressing yourself in a court or in most other civilized locations that don't involve using 4-letter words.
All right, I'm sorry about that.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You go to church ever?
I used to go to church.
I
when
mean,
was
would
young.
you use these words when you were talking to your priest?
Nope.
Because you knew enough not to do that, right?
I was young, too. I was like...
So you mean you got older and dumber?
No.
You mean when you were younger, you were smarter?
Why I gotta be dumb?
Well,
You know what
because
I
if
mean?
you were younger, you said you knew not to talk to your priest and
I never
talk.
talked to the priest, really. I just went to Sunday school, like, for like 3 weeks. That's it.
Oy.
Then you got kicked out.
All right. You want a new radio?
Yes.
Give him back the one he gave you.
want to keep this radio?
No, I don't.
She doesn't want that radio, Mr. Allison.
It's not
She
wrong
wants a
with
new radio. And she's suing you for $120 for the new radio. Wish I could give her $120 for a new radio and give myself $500 having to suffer here listening to your language. You have a child. Boy or a girl?
Little girl.
Do you visit with her?
Well, I seen her yesterday. That's it, though, for a while.
You're going to try to be a good father?
Yeah, I'm going to school in the fall, and I got a job right now.
You wouldn't want your daughter to grow up listening to that language that you use, would you?
Nope.
Excuse me, but he swears all the time in front of her. So if he didn't want her to grow up listening to that, he wouldn't do that in front of her.
Well, you're absolutely right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
One thing I'm really pleased about is that you have intention of going back to school. Maybe you can learn something. Maybe.
And later today,
The only way she has to check, sir, is if she takes you to court. So this is a very foolish thing to have. Very stupid.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Kimberly Gregg claims 20-year-old Jordan Allison, the father of her child, smashed her radio. Jordan says Kimberly threw his television out the window.
So the two of you, who had absolutely no business making a child, made a child, and neither one of
Why
you...
didn't we have any business? We used to love each other.
Because you made this child, sir, when you were 18 years old?
It doesn't matter.
Oh. I don't have enough hours in the day to get through to you, sir. But I certainly hope one thing I'm really pleased about, is that you have intention of going back to school. Maybe. Just maybe. You can learn something. Maybe.
What are you trying to say? I don't know nothing now. Right.
$120 for you. Buy yourself a new radio. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'll pay child support. I'll see my daughter, but I ain't being with her no more.
That's why you call me up all
I don't
the
call
time.
you. You're crazy. You're crazy.
Oh, all right. I
This
got
girl's
messages
crazy.
to prove it.
All right.
I ain't even
Prove
gonna
the
pull his
messages.
card, but he knows what I'm talking about.
Okay, whatever.
And now the next case.
Parties on Basler versus Cora. Step forward, please.
29-year-old blackjack dealer Michelle Bassler is suing her ex-husband, graphic artist Peter Cora, 32, for not paying his share of their federal income taxes. Peter is countersuing his ex-wife for harassment.
Miss Bassler, you and the defendant were married and divorced. Correct. And pursuant to your judgment of divorce, according to the defendant, he says that you were supposed to share the marital debts. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you get a statement from the Internal Revenue Service saying that you were both deficient in paying income tax for a year while you were married, and they took your whole refund to satisfy that deficiency. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that was a joint debt?
Yes.
So you say he should be responsible for at least half?
Your Honor, a statement came to me from the IRS stating that almost $1,100 went to paying his Social Security.
His Social Security?
Number, not my number. The only reason why I was responsible is because I was married to him at the time, and we had filed jointly for 1994 taxes.
Were you working in 1994?
No.
In the year that was filed? You were not?
No, I was not.
What kind of work was your husband doing at that time?
He is self-employed.
You have children together?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
How many children?
One.
How old is that child?
He just turned 5.
So you were staying home with him when he was young?
Yes, I did.
So how much did they take altogether?
They took $1,089.30.
Can I see, please, your judgment of divorce?
Sure.
Here you go.
What kind of business are you in, sir?
I do graphic arts and printing.
Now, Miss Bassler, this judgment's divorce is clear. It says that the plaintiff, that's him, shall be responsible for 1/2 of various community debts, including Sears, Sizes Unlimited, Broadway, Phone Company, and IRS for 1994 taxes. Among other things, defendant shall be responsible for 1/2 of the community debts and the debt against the 1988 Mercury. This divorce judgment was in 95, was filed in 95. Clearly, this says that you're responsible for half.
Correct.
Okay. That means you're responsible for half.
Correct.
Good.
We're equally responsible for half of all community debts. And I spent over $3,000 in community debt. And I figured she didn't have a job when we were divorced. And I wanted to just, try to be fair. I paid him. I figured eventually one day down the road, it'll all wash out.
Okay.
The first penny taken from her, she blows up.
Okay. So let's see. Plaintiff, that's you. Sears bill. I'm going through each one of them. Let me see what you paid to Sears.
Your Honor, I have a $22 check for Sears that I don't have a copy of, but that was all that I paid.
$22 to Sears. Sizes unlimited.
$150.34.
$150. So I'm going to give you credit for half of that. Sizes unlimited. That was your bill?
Yes.
$75. What's next? Broadway.
Total for Broadway was $198.86.
Let's make it an even 200 because I'm so poor in math. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Half. You get credit for $100, sir. I assume you have receipts for all these things that you paid.
Canceled checks, yes, Your Honor.
Good. So in total, sir, instead of these thousands of dollars that you're talking about, you got $175 that I'm going to give you credit for because that's what the divorce decree says.
Okay.
Right?
Fine. In the judgment, it also stated that we were to share in the payment of her father's house, which I paid a payment of $1,045, and that was the only payment made.
Just a second. Okay, both parties shall be equally responsible for the defendant, that's you, refinancing of her house in California while your father resides in the house. What does that mean?
Basically, we borrowed money on the house, and I agreed as long as her father was living there that I would share in the cost.
What do you mean you borrowed money on the house?
The house belonged originally to Michelle and her sister. Her sister basically wanted nothing to do with the loan that we needed when we moved to Las Vegas.
Just a minute. What you're telling me you took out a home equity loan on the house?
Yes.
Well, why don't you just say that? That's something
Okay.
I understand very clearly. You took out a home equity loan on her house.
On her house.
On her house, on her property.
Correct.
And what'd you all do with the money?
We moved to Las Vegas.
Together?
Together.
How much money, sir, would you say you used of the home equity loan?
Between the two of us, all of it.
How much?
Your Honor, I can't give you an exact
Give me an
amount.
idea.
Okay, the first loan was in the amount of $75,000 is correct. Over $40,000 of it went to purchase a home here in Peter's name. I was not on that house. I had given him the money for the down payment. We lived there. And the rest of it was to pay off consumer debt and to live because Peter didn't have a job from the time we moved to Las Vegas until shortly after we moved in October of 91. It wasn't until the end of January of 92 that he found employment.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
$270 a month is an outrageous amount of child support from what apparently is an educated man like yourself in his own business, right, who's got money for a tape recorder.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Bassler wants her ex-husband, Peter Korer, to pay his share of their federal income taxes. He wants her to stop harassing him.
The reason I find that interesting is because I read your answer, sir, and in your answer, sir, you said that she didn't work, that you supported the whole family, that you worked and took care of everything, she just stayed home.
For the most part, I met the obligations. I was the one earning the money to pay back the loan.
Well, how much did you pay back?
We were paying probably around $1,000 a month. But
how much did you pay back?
We paid back at whatever the loan payments were until there was a balloon at the end of the loan. That's what caused the refinance.
How much did you pay on
The
it?
loan was a 30 due in 3. At the end of 3 years, I had a refinance. Peter made one payment before our divorce, and the rest of the time my sister and I took care of it.
Okay. Now, what's all this other thousands of dollars for harassment, Mr. Cora?
She has taken me to court for several things. She has told the district attorney statements that were absolutely false, and she has dragged me to court. She's made me out to be a deadbeat dad. I have paid every dime of my child support. My child is my primary concern. My divorce decree says 18% of my income. Since my income fluctuates, my child support payments fluctuated. So she...
did you have lawyers representing you in this divorce proceeding?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't you understand, madam, that when somebody is self-employed, you don't say, I'm going to accept 18% of his income. That brings you back and forth every single time a month comes due because you don't have a paycheck to look at. And you have absolutely no way of checking. And the only way she has to check, sir, is if she takes you to court. So this is a very foolish thing to have in a support order, 18% of your income. Very stupid.
Your Honor, can I play a tape for you?
Just a second.
It's very critical in the harassment charges.
Just a second.
Yes.
Tell me what the tape is going to say to me.
Basically, it goes with her rambling on and on, how I'm going to take you to district court, I'm going to take you to family court, I'm going to keep you in court, I'm going to make your life miserable.
So why don't you go into court, sir, and say, I want a fixed amount to pay every week?
We already have that. The district attorney ordered me to pay $270 per month, period.
Your Honor, that issue is not finished. He has to prove his income. He supplied me with computer-generated income taxes in family court. And when we went for divorce, I was not represented. Peter went to court by himself.
Listen to me. I think that until you get the issue of support resolved, there is going to be continued acrimony. You cannot have a support order that says 18% of your income, especially when you are self-employed. So I would suggest as fast as you can to get the matter of support resolved.
It has been.
No, not according to her. If a district attorney directs you to pay a certain amount of money, sir, that is not a court proceeding. A district attorney is there as an interim advocate. So he has suggested that until this matter is ultimately resolved, you pay $270. But I'm telling you this, sir, if the judge, after hearing this case, determines that you, in fact, earn more than what you told the district attorney, based upon several factors, some of which I don't think I'm going to tell you now, so that they might come as a surprise to you. You must be prepared to pay more than the $270 a month, because that doesn't probably represent 18% of your actual income. We understand each other?
Yes.
Perfect.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Your counterclaim, sir, is dismissed. I am
You won't
awarding...
allow me to play this one last piece of evidence?
No, I'm not interested in her telling you she's going to take you to every court in the United States, including the Supreme Court of the United States. $270 a month is an outrageous amount of child support from what apparently is an educated man like yourself in his own business, right, who's got money for a tape recorder. So if she's annoyed that you went through clearly with her a lot of her money, I can understand that. Shouldn't have to trust you. I get $373, Bird. I get half of $1089.
Right, which is $544.65 was what I came up with.
$544. Go ahead.
65.
Less
And then
ones.
I took away $175, and I came up with $369.65.
Oh, that's right. $369. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Thanks.
And on the next...
Parties on Birmingham versus Cameroni. Step forward, please.
26-year-old prison guard Eric Birmingham is suing former inmate Judy Cameroni for libel and slander on the internet. Judy claims he mistreated her while in custody.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise.
And you, Miss Cameroni, were an inmate in that jail, having been convicted of some speeding violation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You claim that while you were in the jail, you were subjected to maltreatment by the plaintiff.
Yes, that's correct.
You complained to your husband. Is that you?
Yes.
Who sent faxes to the warden.
That's correct.
And as a result of those faxes, you were further mistreated by the plaintiff. Then you served your time, you got out of jail, and you started to write on the internet about the plaintiff and about the things that you suffered from while you were in jail at his hands. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're suing her for slandering you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever sue him?
No, I did not.
You chose to take out whatever anger that you had by using the computer.
Well, I chose to tell my story through a website instead of suing civilly.
Okay. How long have you been employed as a deputy in the jail, sir?
3 years, ma'am.
And what were you doing in the jail? You were there for the speeding ticket. For how long were you actually incarcerated?
I was incarcerated for 3.5 months.
Why? That was a pretty long time for a speeding ticket.
Well, back in 1993, I had drove my Corvette at 145 miles an hour up the freeway.
Why would you do that?
You know, I realized it was wrong and I shouldn't have done it. You know, and it was a long time ago, and I know it was dangerous. But the treatment that he put me through...
No, I'm not getting to the treatment. So that's what you were there for.
Yes.
Now, tell me about the first time you had a contact with him.
That was June 6th of 1997. He was on night duty at the time, and he was assigned to the tower and the walkthroughs. And he would open and shut the door all night, a loud metal door, so I could not sleep. And then when the sergeant came through at 8 a.m. and asked me why I was still sleeping, I told him I couldn't sleep because of the loud door opening and shutting. And the sergeant says, I'll take care of it, it won't happen again. And that took care of that situation. I started having problems again when I filed a habeas with the court, which was not welcome with many of the jail staff.
What kind of habeas?
I was being denied medication that my doctor had prescribed.
What kind of prescriptions were you supposed to be taking? Don't show me letters. Look at me. Stop playing with papers.
Okay. I was supposed to be taking pain medication and Luvox and...
what was that for?
It was for my depression. I went through a court-ordered psychiatric review and...
so you were supposed to be taking medicine,
psychiatric,
for psychiatric problems.
Yes, and then for my insomnia, I was supposed to take something for that.
So you filed a habeas corpus proceeding because you said that they refused to give you that medication.
Right.
And were you ultimately given the medication?
After the habeas corpus proceedings, yes.
Well, what did that have to do with him?
Well, when I had come back from court to the jail, he was the one who removed the handcuffs and the shackles, and he was very rough in twisting my arms. And he was telling me, I hope it was worth it when he was removing the handcuffs.
So when was the next time you had a problem with him?
Well, after that, I had constant problems with him.
Tell me about them.
And with another inmate. Well, there was a particular inmate in there who...
And now, are these things that you memorialized on your website, on the internet?
I didn't go into detail on my website.
Do you have what you complain about, sir, in writing?
Yes,
that she wrote on the internet?
Yes, ma'am. I have parts of it, yes.
Can I see it, please?
The second paragraph on the first page is the beginning of it.
This is an accounting of life in jail and the very unprofessional conduct of two deputies in particular, another deputy and yourself, okay, towards her.
Yes, ma'am.
So far this doesn't say anything. I want to see particularly what she says about you so I can address each of those things. would you have him put a star next to the things that he's actually complaining about so that I could...
Ma'am, that's kind of hard to say.
No, I want to see, sir.
Well-
You are alleging that she either libeled and or slandered you.
Well, that's what I need to explain, ma'am. It's not just what she said. It's the context of my name is now associated with this website on the very first page of it, and it contains words rape, prejudice,
Show me
racism.
where that's alleged that you were any part of that, sir.
By
Show me.
reading it, ma'am, a normal person reading that will get my name twisted into that and see this.
Just a second. She doesn't allege anywhere in here that you raped her, correct?
No, ma'am.
She doesn't allege anywhere in here that you beat her, correct?
No, ma'am.
It says, gives a whole litany of her experiences in the jail, which may have included those things. But with regard to you, all it says is, the fact is that Deputy Birmingham acted in an unprofessional manner on numerous occasions while she was in custody. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're complaining about.
Why is my name on the internet? This isn't anything to do with free speech. This isn't anything to do with her trying to raise funds to go to Supreme Court or anything like that. This is just her ill will to try to get revenge, and my name doesn't belong on the first page of her website.
Well, you were employed at the jail when she was there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember her when she was an inmate?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you remember about her.
I remember basically she'd complain about everything. She accused everybody of doing something wrong. She was just not your model inmate.
Mm-hmm. And how did you react to that, sir?
I didn't care. I was just doing my job,
Mhm.
doing my 8 hours and going home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And he'd say things to me like, I could make it worse for you here. She could snap your little ass right in half.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheriff's Deputy Eric Birmingham says former inmate Judy Cameroni slandered him. Judy says he mistreated her in jail.
Mr. Birmingham, you've been employed according to you for 3 years?
Yes, ma'am.
How many disciplinary proceedings have ever been filed against you?
None, ma'am.
Are you still employed there?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to tell me, madam, what are the things you are specifically complaining about that he did to you? Tell me.
Okay, there was another inmate there who was she was the lover of the jail cook's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
And she was in there for, oh, no.
The lover of the inmates.
The lover of the jail cook's daughter.
Go. Do this one more time.
She was the lover of the jail cook's daughter.
Okay.
Okay. And she was a very tough woman. She had been incarcerated for beating up 2 of their sheriffs. So she was very tough and very large. And she gave me a very difficult time there. Many times she would back me into the wall and threaten to beat me up, and guards would come running to stop her. Every time she would do something bad to me, and it came down to discipline, she was not disciplined. And Deputy Birmingham chose not to discipline her, and many of the times when we had conflicts where she instigated it, he would choose not to discipline her. And it just made matters worse, and I felt it was very unprofessional for him to do this.
What's next?
It's just caused her to be more bold.
What's next?
Well, my husband sent a fax to the sheriff, which he had intercepted, Mr. Birmingham intercepted. He came up to my cell, dumped out my coffee, which I had to purchase through commissary, and he said he was sick and tired of me. He had the fax in his hand, and he says, you better call your husband and tell him not to send any more faxes.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am.
That doesn't sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Birmingham, are you trying to tell me that a fax of complaint was never received by you, indicating that you failed to take steps to protect this then inmate?
No, ma'am.
You never saw that.
No, ma'am.
He came into your cell with the fax?
Yes, he did, and he dumped out my coffee. And I felt that his unprofessional conduct was putting my safety in jeopardy. You know, and he'd say things to me like, I could make it worse for you here. She could snap your little ass right in half, and things like this.
When did he say that to you?
When he had the fax and dumped the coffee out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you still taking medication?
Yes, I am.
Still the antidepressant medication?
Yes.
Were you on that medication before you were incarcerated?
Yes, I was.
Is this the first time you were incarcerated?
Yes, it was my first and only offense, and I haven't committed any crime since.
This was your first and only arrest?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Did you know that?
Frankly, ma'am, I didn't care.
Sure you did. Well, let me tell you why.
I have no business.
Let me tell
to
you
know.
why, Officer Birmingham. Here you're dealing with a woman, married woman, have children.
Baby.
And did something really dumb 4 years before. By the time it got through the process, only arrest, here she's given over 3 months to serve in jail. Pretty frightening prospect, wouldn't you say?
Can I add some clarification there?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, she spent approximately, and I'm not sure the number, 20 days back in 91 or whenever she was first arrested. She was committed after a trial and then got out on an appeal bond. So she had spent 20 to 30 days there already.
So you knew a little bit about her history, Officer.
Mm-hmm. Now I do. Now I do, yes, ma'am.
Oh, sir. Are you telling me at the time that you folks were having, according to you, lots of difficulty with her husband faxing and everything else, that you didn't open up the file and take a look at it? Are you
I knew what she was there for, yes, ma'am.
Here was an inmate who was given lots of problems, who was not prepared to accept the regular drill of being in jail, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And that presented a certain amount of irritation for all the people in jail. Now, how many guards are there in jail?
It depends on the shift in the day.
Give me some idea of how many people she would have come in contact with between all the shifts.
4 to 5 a shift. It's a small jail.
4 to 5 a shift and 3 shifts a day.
Yes, ma'am.
So 20 people.
Give or say.
She doesn't complain about all 20, right?
Yes, ma'am.
She only complains about really 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, ma'am. If she had such a problem with me, then why didn't she file a complaint with my department?
She did. She complained through him. She complained, sent a fax. I believe her when she says that you walked into her jail cell with the fax, irritated as hell. I believe her. She doesn't accuse you of any criminal behavior. She says that you were guilty of unprofessional behavior. That's a subjective term.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I could pick up the phone, it's only 2 o'clock, and save my little baby. 600-mile round trip. And then she wouldn't see me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Prison guard Eric Birmingham says former inmate Judy Cameroni has damaged his reputation on the internet. She says he mistreated her.
Certainly what she's saying is you failed to protect her from another inmate who was dangerous. And that what you were really telling her was, listen, babe, you better just do your time quietly, stop complaining, stop making a pest out of yourself. Because if you do, there are things that we could do to make your life unpleasant. Is that what you're complaining about?
Yes, and he also, what he did was, the worst thing that he did was, he did a walkthrough, and he told me when I was watching the news sitting on a bunk, stand up, don't sit on the bunk. I sat on the ground. He says, don't sit on the ground, remain standing. So I remained standing. And then he continued the walkthrough upstairs and left. And I had laughed at a sexual remark that another inmate had made towards him, which is not allowed, but he did not discipline her for it because he welcomes these kind of remarks. And I had laughed. I've got dizzy. I sat down, and I got back up, and I knew I shouldn't have sat down on the bunk. So when he came back around the front door, and I was standing right by the phone, and he says, I'm putting you in lockdown, and tomorrow you cannot see your baby. So I told him, look, I'm standing right by the phone. I could pick up the phone, it's only 2 o'clock, and save my little baby the 600-mile round trip. And then she wouldn't see me. He says, I don't care. And I says, well, then you could have someone else call my husband not to make the trip. He would not do that. But you see, here's the disciplinary action he wrote up. And then he also took away my visiting privileges for 2 weeks, and that's all I had left.
Why
And
did you
he
take away
wrote it up.
Why did you take away a visiting
I
privilege?
did not take the visiting away.
What did you do?
It's a disciplinary review board.
What did you write her up for?
If I remember the incident, we had an extra bunk out in the day room area, and the rules state don't use anything it's not intended for. Okay, and she was sitting on the bunk watching TV, and like I told other people or whatever, and told her to sit down over on the tables. But I have no say on whether she loses visits or not. That's the
That's not my
review board.
question. What this incident that you were talking about, that you wrote her up for?
I believe so. Yes, ma'am.
You wrote her up for was because she was sitting on a spare bunk rather than sitting on the table. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Jail is designed to have rules and to have structure, and that's all
Now,
it
did
is.
you know, Officer Birmingham, that she was supposed to have her visiting with her baby on the next day?
No, ma'am.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am.
Doesn't
We don't
sound
have
familiar.
the only time they can make appointments for visits is on the day of the visit. So I would have no say or no knowledge of her
Officer
having a
Birmingham,
visit.
are you telling me, sir, that she did not say to you, if you're going to take away my visits, let me call my husband and tell him not to make this 600-mile trip? That doesn't sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am. I don't know.
You don't know if it sounds familiar. Is that what you're saying?
I don't remember hearing that. No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Look, I'm going to resolve this matter very quickly. Okay. Officer Birmingham, you are in fact suing her. You are suing her for slander, for saying terrible things about you on the internet, on the website. I don't find that she said anything that was terrible about you. She said that you engaged in unprofessional conduct towards her while she was an inmate in the jail. If I have to make a determination today whether or not any of that is true, I would have to say, yes, I believe that you behaved in an unprofessional manner towards the defendant who was an inmate in your jail. And therefore, your lawsuit would be dismissed because truth is an absolute defense. I believe her, sir, when she says that you took her handcuffs off in a rough fashion, that you came into her room with a fax in your hand, spilled her coffee and said, listen, don't do this again, because I can make, in effect, can make your life unpleasant here. And I do believe that you wrote her up for sitting on a bed rather than sitting on a table, which caused her to lose her visitation privileges with her child, and when asked whether you would please just call her husband not to make the trip, because the trip would be for naught, she was blown off. That, to me, sir, is unprofessional behavior. So your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thanks, man.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Sakajian, step forward, please.
29-year-old health food clerk Jennifer Berry wants former boyfriend Paul Sakajian, 46, to pay back a loan she made to him for a car.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise.
For a loan that you made to him.
Yes, ma'am.
He says he paid you back. So first, would you mind telling me why you gave him $3,000?
I gave him the $3,000 to go.
It wasn't $3,000.
It was.
Want to get to you?
That's correct. Actually, I loaned the defendant $2,500 for him to purchase a 1995 Honda Civic. Upon returning it to me, he agreed to pay an additional $500. So, in a sense, it would be $3,000 that he returned to me.
What was the $500 for?
It would have been to apply toward...
It was interest, Your Honor.
Yes, that's correct. It was interest.
That's a lot of interest.
Yeah.
Over how long a period was he supposed to pay you back?
It was going to be over a 3-week period.
$500 interest for 3 weeks? Are you a loan shark?
No. No, ma'am. He was planning to fix the car and then sell it and
It's not true,
earn...
Jennifer.
Just a second. Would you do me a favor? You're irritating me. It's not a good idea to start off by irritating the person who's supposed to decide your case. All right, let me cut to the chase. From what I gather from what you started to tell me before you were rudely interrupted, the $500 is because he was going to buy this truck, fix it up, sell it for a profit, and you wanted a piece of the profit.
That's a part of it. He actually had a truck before that he was going to sell, and he was going to give me the proceeds from the truck that he was selling.
Well, it's all getting very complicated. All I want to know is as follows.
Okay.
Did you, in fact, take out $2,500 and give it to him?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because he was having some financial difficulties and...
Was he a friend of yours?
Yes.
Was he a boyfriend of yours?
Yes.
Was he your only boyfriend?
Yes.
Now, you did, in fact, sir, borrow this money from her.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Why did you borrow money from the lady?
She sort of offered to sort of make, alleviate my problems by having to go to a bank and, you know, pull out the money and from a savings account to a checking account. And what I done was like, she said that you can just borrow the money because we banked at the same bank and I could pay her in due time because I need to buy some parts.
So what you're telling me is it was too much trouble for you to take the money out of your savings account.
Right.
And put it in your checking account.
I had to take a day off from work. That's why it was, Your Honor.
It's getting better all the time. All right. So you borrowed money from your girlfriend.
She actually, I didn't
just
borrow.
say yes or no. So
Yes,
you
I
borrowed
did.
money from your girlfriend.
Yes, I did.
All right. Now she says you didn't pay her back. Right?
Yes.
Did you ask him for the money back?
Many times, ma'am.
After what period of time did you two break up?
It was about the time that I started asking for the money back.
How long after the loan?
About 2 months after.
You were supposed to pay her the money back in 3 weeks, right?
Right.
But you didn't.
Not
Pay her
true.
back in 3 weeks.
I have what you call records showing that on the day that I sold my truck, she got her money.
Well, show me that. I'm really interested in that. And this case can be over very quickly. This doesn't say she got her money.
She had a pink slip collateral, Your Honor, for what do you call it, for the money that I borrowed.
Okay.
What collateral are you talking
Just
about?
1 second. This is for a 1990 Nissan.
Right.
And
that
this
was
is the truck that you're talking about.
Right.
So what you're saying to me is, as collateral for the loan that she made to you,
Right.
the $2,500 loan,
Right.
you gave her the pink slip for this truck.
Right, ma'am.
And what you're saying to me is, you sold this truck to this man,
Right.
and you couldn't have sold it without the pink slip.
Right.
So she had to give you the pink slip back.
Right. They were all
That's
all
a
of
lie,
us-
ma'am.
Shh. Just a second.
All the parties were there that Sunday when the guy came to pick up the truck.
Were you ever there on a
No,
Sunday?
I was not there on Sunday. I don't know what man Mr. Sakadjian is referring to.
She didn't get a chance to meet him. He was outside, and what happened was like, she was inside the house. I had to get the, what do you call, the paperwork in order for me to, what do you call, do the transaction so I can get the money. So that's when, you know, he wanted to get his pink slip so he can render the money to me. So I took the pink slip outside and I just came right back inside the house, gave her the money. That was
Did you
it.
have the pink slip for his truck?
I never received any pink slip. Nope.
Oh, my God.
Oh, okay. Did this man ever see the plaintiff? Were
No.
they ever in the same place at the same time?
The only thing was there was just between here and there. She was in my room and the gentleman was outside.
He wasn't like
No.
Superman. He couldn't see through the kryptonite, right?
No.
Sir,
Yes.
I don't believe you. I think you're full of it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She's angry at me because I told her that I don't want to see her no more. That's all it's about. That's all. It's not all about the money.
I hate to say this to you, sir. Look at you and look at her.
And later today,
I've helped her out, Your Honor.
How?
She's asked me to buy diapers.
Diapers?
I've babysat for her.
Babysat?
I've did whatever I could for her.
No,
regarding
no.
my
No,
circumstances.
no. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Berry wants her ex-boyfriend, auto body shop manager Paul Sakajian, to repay the money she gave him for a car.
Now, there's some reason why you didn't give her back this money, because you didn't give her back this money.
She got her money.
Oh, no, she didn't. Why do you think she's here?
If
Let
I
me
was
ask you a question, sir. Why do you think she's here if she got back her money?
She's angry at me because I told her that I don't want to see her no more. That's all it's about. That's all. It's not all about the money.
I hate to say this to you, sir. Look at you and look at her. Why do you think she would be angry if you said you didn't want to see her anymore?
I can't read her mind, Your Honor.
I believe you when you say you didn't get your money back. I am not giving you the $500 interest. It's excessive. Do you understand?
Yes. Yeah.
But I am giving you your $2,500. I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back door to your right, please.
Something like this has really made things difficult for me to be with him.
Just usually when I have a relationship with somebody, I don't like to have signed documents, you know, and I feel pretty bad.
And now the next case.
Parties on Brown versus Bros. Step forward, please.
17-year-old Tyler Brown says his ex-fiancée, 18-year-old Mary Brose, should return her engagement ring and pay attorney fees he spent to get visitation for their 18-month-old baby.
What's your first name?
Tyler.
Tyler. This is your father?
Yes, this is my father.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Step up here, please. Tyler, you are 17?
Yes.
Miss Brose, you are 18?
Yes, I am.
Is this your mom?
Yes, my mom.
Would you step up here, please? There are two things at issue in this case. One is the return of an engagement ring, and the second involves legal fees that the plaintiff says that he was forced to incur when you tried to put his baby up for adoption. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, when she tried to put our baby up for adoption, Your Honor, yes.
That's what I said.
Okay.
All right. So how old were you two when you got engaged?
15.
Wonderful. Did your parents approve of that?
No.
Yes, they did, Your Honor. Her parents did approve of it. As a matter of fact, her mom was the one who was encouraging us to get married. She thought it would be in our best interest because Mary was pregnant, and our intentions were to stay together.
When you were 15?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So tell me about this engagement ring. Where is it?
I lost it.
That's baloney. You don't lose an engagement ring. When did you give her the ring? After she told you she was pregnant?
Yes, it was just about a few weeks after she was pregnant, Your Honor.
You have a bill for it?
Yes, I have a receipt.
Were you living together at any time?
We've lived together on and off, Your Honor. She lived with my mom and dad because her mom and dad didn't, at the time, want anything to do with her. She divorced her parents. She got legally emancipated. And there's so much tension between both of the families.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You bought her engagement ring at Walmart for $239?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, these legal fees, tell me about them.
Okay. Mary decided not very long before she was due to deliver Tyler Jr., our son, she decided that she doesn't want to be a mom. She decides that she wants to give the baby up for adoption, that she's not ready for this at the time. So my mother went and we had got a loan that we got to take out to fight for custody of TJ. Now, a day before Mary goes into labor, she calls me and said that her dad had beat her up or something and that she wants to come back. So I said, okay, because, in my mind, I didn't know what to do. We had already made all these arrangements and stuff. I said, okay. That night, Mary went into labor, and TJ was born. I was at the hospital with her and stayed with her the whole time while she was in the hospital and didn't leave until she left. At that time, she'd come back with us and live with my mom and dad at that time. Now, so what I have is the attorney fees that we had borrowed was $1,500, but we no longer needed those for attorney fees because I didn't need the attorney anymore. So me and Mary kept the money to buy stuff that we needed for TJ and stuff when he was first born, like,
Just a second. How much did you pay the lawyer? Not the loan. How much did you actually pay the lawyer?
I never actually retained him because it happened within just a few days.
Did you pay a lawyer any other money?
Yes, me and Mary, after TJ was born, like I said, she come back and lived with my mom and dad. So her parents filed a petition in court for grandparent visitation rights, and me and Mary didn't like the idea of it because they weren't involved in our...
Mary and I,
I'm sorry, Your Honor. She didn't like the idea of her parents wanting to, boom, become involved just out of nowhere. So we went and retained an attorney. We went and got another loan to retain the attorney, and he filed a response to their petition.
So what happened with the lawsuit over grandparent visitation?
Well, what happened is we never got served our papers or whatever to go to court, and the judge had granted them their petition for the grandparent visitation by default because me and Mary were never notified.
Mary
and I were never notified of the hearing, and we never went.
So did your attorney show up?
No, he never showed up.
So how much did you pay this attorney that didn't show up?
Well, I have paid him $525 was what we paid him.
Now, this $525 was something that you both were on a suit that you both decided to fight. Is that right?
That's why I'm asking for half, yes.
Okay. You're not living together anymore. You have a baby. The baby is now 1.5 years old?
Yeah, almost 2 years old.
Mm-hmm. And you were 15 when the baby was born, or 16?
I was 15.
You must have been pleased as punch.
It was very devastating.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I just took the advice of my attorneys, Your Honor. That's all I did.
Morality has nothing to do with what your attorney tells you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tyler Brown wants his ex-fiancée, Mary Brose, to return the engagement ring and pay him attorney fees he spent to get visitation of their 18-month-old baby. She says she lost the ring, and they both shared the attorney fees.
Let's talk about this engagement ring. Where is it?
I seriously don't know. I was swimming one day, and because me and my mom and dad go, my mom and I and my dad go to the lake, and we have a boat and everything, and we went boating one day, and I water ski, and it fell off, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Now tell me about these legal fees. Did you and this young man decide to fight your parents' request to visit with the baby?
Yeah, we did.
Why?
I don't know. I really don't know anymore.
You don't feel that way anymore?
No, of course not. I don't. I know I made a mistake. I mean, I know I made a mistake. I know that. And I just panicked, basically. I mean, I'm sure if you had a kid at 15, you'd do, panic and stuff. It just scared me a lot.
More than panic?
Yeah, it scared me.
Are you living with your mom and dad now?
No, I live on my own right now.
How do you support yourself?
I work full-time.
Who takes care of the baby?
Actually, Tyler watches him now because we had got a court date. And Tyler was supposed to pay, I don't know how much money it was, and the judge said that Tyler could watch because he's not working. And Tyler said that he would watch TJ while I worked.
Why aren't you working?
I'm working, Your Honor.
So who's watching the baby?
I watch the baby during the day, and then usually Mary gets off of work at about 5, and then when I go to work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my mom just watches him from like 3 to 5 until Mary gets home. The judge thought that would be in our best interest.
I think that's a very smart decision.
Your Honor, can I speak?
Sure.
In regards to the babysitting incident, the issue, we had just gone to court, and he was supposed to pay child support. She has not seen a penny of it.
Well, the truth is, until he's of age, which is 18, under the laws in every jurisdiction, he's really not responsible for child support. He was responsible enough to make a baby, but paying for it is an entirely different thing. That's America. Now, if I had my way, his father would be contributing some of the support, just as you probably are contributing some of the support to make things work in your daughter's house, take care of this baby. But that's not the way the law is now. That's unfortunate. If I were queen, I would change that. In any event, so we have two issues, and I'm going to rule on those two issues. An engagement ring is given as part of a contract to marry. However, the law is that unless you are of age, you cannot enter into a contract. So we're sort of in a twilight zone here. You gave her this ring. It's part of a contract, which you couldn't make. So this Walmart ring, wherever it is gone. Now, I do think that there is some merit, sir, in your argument that you should get half of these attorney's fees, half of the $525, because from what the defendant tells me, she was also fighting the lawsuit that involved her parents having visitation with their grandchild.
$260, $250.
Oh, Bert, thank you very much. I don't know what I'd do without you. My mathematician to my immediate left tells me that half of 525 is 260, 250. That's what you have to give him. Understand?
Can I add something
Yeah.
here, too?
Oh, he wants to add.
Well, Your Honor, they had mentioned me not paying their child support. We just went to court 2 weeks ago, and I've just got the order.
I say something? Just a minute.
And they're just now starting to garnish my wages. My attorneys had advised me to wait until we get the order. I've just got the order in the mail last week, and my support will be starting to be garnished out of my wages this week.
Mr. Brown, you see, when you keep talking, you always say one thing too much. Because I've been nice to you so far.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You needed an order to start paying child support? Your child's almost 2 years old?
No, but...
Just a second. You needed an order? What'd you think your baby was going to eat?
I've helped her out, Your Honor.
How?
She's asked me to buy diapers.
Diapers?
I've babysat for her.
Babysat?
I've did whatever I could for her regarding my circumstances.
Circumstances. If you're old enough to make a baby, you're old enough to be able to support a baby. And you don't wait until you get a court order to do that, sir, if you are a responsible person. I know that you like to think that you are a responsible person.
Well, I offered to give her money, like, for Christmas. She did not want my money for Christmas.
What's Christmas? I'm talking about every week, like you get paid, sir, at your job.
I just took the advice of my attorneys, Your Honor. That's all I did.
Just listen to me. Morality has nothing to do with what your attorney tells you. If you made a baby, morally you are responsible for contributing to that child's support. And it seems to me with your mouth you can say to your lawyer, look, I understand your advice, but the right thing for me to do is to pay child support, is to pay her even voluntarily until a court gives me an order, and I want to do that because it's the right thing to do. Does that have a ring of truth to it?
Yes, it does.
Good! $262.50 for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Parties on Garland versus Schweier-Kala. Step forward, please.
38-year-old home healthy Lori Garland is suing her landlord, 77-year-old Peter Schweier-Kala, for invasion of privacy by placing a bugging device in her bedroom.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 464 on the calendar in the matter of Garland versus Schweier-Kala. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
I'll get to you in a minute. This young woman was a tenant of yours, correct?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And she claims in her papers that you put a device in her house, a bugging device.
Right.
And you admit that you put a bugging
Right.
device in her house. She's suing you for breach of privacy.
Correct.
Now, you say that you had every right to do that, and I'm going to let you explain why, sir.
Okay. My privacy of my home and myself was invaded by her. Also,
how?
Men were coming over, breaking in through the window, noise around the house, and all this occurs around 80% after the bars close at 2 o'clock in the morning. I had 3 cops, she had 3 cops over there knocking at my door.
Why did you put a bugging device in her house, sir?
because I had suspicion of people walking around the house. And I did see them. They walk into my living room. I see
She's
them.
not complaining that the bugging device, sir, was in your living room, but that you put it where she lives.
Yes, I could hear it. I can't hear back there. If I think I could hear something in the side of the house, I want to know. Because it's my house, because I heard the people around there before.
How did you come to rent this part of the house from him?
I'd known him previously, and the tenant that lived there before, and she had moved out, and he made me aware that it was available, and I was...
How did you know him?
Originally, back 2-3 years ago, in the paper, I was looking for a room to rent in the area, and I never did get the room to rent from him, and when this apartment came available, he...
In the 2 or 3 years, had you seen him?
Oh, yeah.
Do you
We
go to
had
the
been
same
friends.
bars? Do you go to the same hangouts? Do you
No,
stay in
we
the
had
same...
been friends, though.
You had been friends?
Right.
After you came to look at this room that you didn't rent?
Well, no, I never got the opportunity to rent it. I was living with a boyfriend. Then I came back to Mr. Saquala's residence, and he, as a friend, he allowed me to stay there in the living room until the apartment in the back became available, and then I moved in the back apartment.
Now, what's all this about people coming in and out of your apartment?
I was in a 7-month relationship. It wasn't different men, nothing of that sort.
But it was a problem relationship.
It was. And
police came to your house?
Yes, because he was at my window, and he also attacked me in the front yard. They were on Mr. Saquala's residence at his property twice.
So he got nervous about that. How old are you, sir?
I'm 77. I lived there 42 years. I didn't call the cops but one time. She had the cops over there 3 times.
Yeah, she says she did. She didn't have a nice boyfriend.
He got in jail.
He
He's
doesn't know
out.
what he's talking about. The point is, you know what, that's a self-contained apartment in the back, and he locked both doors so that I no longer had my private entry around the side of the house. The previous tenant did have a private entry. Now he decides that he's going to lock those 2 because I can't have my boyfriend over or my friends.
Miss Garland.
He's making me walk through the main house, and he puts up trespassing signs.
Miss Garland, listen to me. I'm not excusing, and I know that he's excitable. I'm not excusing his bugging your apartment. But you have to admit that based upon what you told me, he was very nice to you. He let you come stay in his house. Shh, listen, he was very nice. He let you come stay in his house, wait until the apartment became available, right?
Right.
And you don't think that you would have had any problem with him if you didn't have all this problem with your boyfriend?
I disagree. I think he's a very perverted individual.
What
Your
makes
Honor.
you think he's perverted?
I know his ladies that come over on a regular basis. He has a library video of adults in his room. He's got makeshift toys that I've never seen before. I can't tell you what I found when I went into that room. I originally, on the receiver unit, I cut the black wire so that I didn't know there was an off and on switch on the monitor. But
it was not only an audio unit, but a video unit
I have
as well?
it here. He
Can I see
repaired
it?
the black wire, and then I went in the next morning, cut the red wire. It's not until he repaired the unit to listen that I confiscated it. And when I gave him pictures that I took, he clipped the wire from the garage coming through my bedroom wall, so I was able to pull out this big monitor. It was very devastating to hear my TV going on and everything in my place.
What I'm asking you is was this a video unit as well as an audio unit? Just
No,
an
ma'am.
audio unit?
Just audio.
Sir, did you tell her that you were bugging her unit?
What?
Did
No.
you tell her?
No.
That you were bugging her unit?
No.
Well, you can't do this, sir.
I know that.
Well, you can't do it. That's an invasion of her privacy.
He took the time to drill a hole through a garage wall to meet up into my bedroom wall above my
Just a second. Did you drill a hole to get into her so that you could monitor what was going on in her
No,
bedroom?
that was in there before she even moved in there.
I
was
agree
it?
with that.
Did you monitor her bedroom activities?
Yes.
Oy.
And everybody else that's rented prior to him, I believe that.
Oy, oy, oy. Sir, I don't think you ought to rent apartments anymore, sir. You can't do that. It's against the law, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He has 100 adult videos, makeshift toys in his room. It's very disgusting. I mean, if you'd seen what I'd seen.
And later today,
Did the dogs seem to like each other?
Yes.
Yeah, Mom was ready for it.
You have the male dog, right?
Yeah.
It's usually the case.
Yeah.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Garland says her landlord, Peter Schweiakala, placed a bug in her bedroom. He says she had too many gentlemen callers.
Sir, listen to me. Are you on Social Security?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Is that the way you support yourself, or do you have other sources of income?
That's the only thing.
Okay, is that enough to keep your house and to keep you...
Not necessarily, just, I would say, a break even.
You break even?
Yeah.
With your Social Security?
Yeah.
I think, sir, at your age, if you can avoid renting this house that you have behind you, you should avoid it. Do you understand? Because this kind of activity you cannot be involved with. You cannot rent a house to someone and then, no, sir, I know you're raising your hand and you're going to tell me that there were people that shouldn't have been there. You cannot invade someone's privacy by putting listening devices into their home. Period. End of discussion.
May I add something?
Just a second. No, add nothing. Do you owe him any rent?
No, I don't.
Did you? What day of the month did you leave?
I haven't left yet. I'm planning to move in March.
So you haven't left?
Right.
Did you pay him February's rent?
No, I haven't paid him since November.
Why?
Because I got the police station and I talked to an attorney. And
just a second.
He doesn't have a renter's permit. I called Housing Authority, and when they let me know, he had assured me when I moved in there after the last tenant problem that he had with also, that he had gotten whatever, obtained a renter's permit from Building and Safety to rent the apartment, and come to find out he has not
Ms.
done
Garland,
that.
You didn't pay him rent since November.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
How much was the rent?
It's $65 a week.
Do the 65 times 4.3, will you please, Bird?
May I add also, he's been going through my trash. I found this
Then
in his room.
move, madam. You don't stay there and complain. It always irritated me when people stood up there and said, I can't stand my landlord. He does this, he does that, he does that, and he stays there, so I'm going to live there,
right,
and I'm not going to pay.
Right.
That's outrageous.
Right.
$3,967.
Now, sir, she's suing you for $5,000 for an invasion of her privacy.
Right.
And she's entitled to that money because what you did was outrageous. However, her conduct, to me, is also not with clean hands, because she comes to court having not paid you rent, but lived there without the listening devices since November, and you haven't seen any money from your property. So I am deducting the rent that she was supposed to have paid you from her requested judgment, and I am awarding you, madam, $3,967. And I'm doing that based upon your statement that you are moving March 1st. Now, are you moving March 1st?
Yes, I am.
Where are you moving
yes,
to?
I am. In the general same area.
You have a place?
I'm going to find a room to rent.
No. To rent. You don't have a place?
Not yet, no.
Well, I'm advising you that this judgment will be held until March 1st. If you are out of his residence by March 1st, you will get this judgment. If you do not vacate the premises by March 1st, I'll see you both back here again, and we're going to make a modification. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Very good. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused.
Thank
you may
you.
step out. Dr. Banker, to your right.
One time we were friends, was in the kitchen. You know what she said? She looked at me, she said, you know, Pete, I think I'm falling in love with you. And you know what I said to myself? Hello?
Peter, look at
Hello?
me. I think you're getting a little
no,
delusion.
I don't. I have enough of girlfriends of my own. I don't need you.
And now the next case.
Parties on Alush versus Harris. Step forward, please.
35-year-old customer service agent Tracy Alush says guitar shop owner Jordan Harris kept the stud service fee after their dogs failed to successfully mate.
You were trying to find a suitable mate for your pit bull.
That's correct.
And rather than, according to your papers, and I'm editorializing a little bit, rather than putting an ad in the personal column, you went to the park.
That's correct.
Where you found this gentleman who had a pit bull.
Yes.
Did the dogs seem to like each other?
Yes.
Yeah, Mom was ready for it.
You have the male dog, right?
Yeah.
That's usually the case.
Yeah.
She decided hers was ready.
Yeah.
Right?
From
you
bleeding.
knew yours was ready.
Mm-hmm. Mine's always ready.
That's usually the case.
Okay.
So you made this financial arrangement where you were going to charge her a stud fee.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if he's always ready, you could have given it away for nothing. If you really
Sure.
loved him, right?
Well.
But you decided that a stud
Pam.
fee was appropriate,
Mhm.
right? So $200 was what you arranged. And at the appropriate time, you took your lady to his house?
No, we first came to my house for about an hour or so, and they were...
For sort of a courting.
To get to know each other. Yes.
There's only one funny person here, sir.
Okay. Oh, okay. You got it. All right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I didn't care whether the dog had or not to mate another dog. So I took the dog, you know, just trying to give it a proper home because I have a good heart.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 35-year-old customer service agent Tracy Alouche says guitar shop owner Jordan Harris kept the stud service fee after their dogs failed to successfully mate.
In any event, to make a long story short, you took your dog over to his house for an overnight.
Yes.
And the dogs did, in fact, have a liaison.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Careful.
They got it.
Careful!
Huh?
Remember what I told you.
All right.
Remember what I told you.
Yes.
But she waited and waited and waited and waited, and nothing happened, which meant that it didn't take. There were no puppies.
Correct.
So you want your money back.
That's it.
That's it. Now, you didn't have a written contract with each other, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
You had a written contract?
Yes, we did.
Let me see it.
I don't have it with me, Your Honor. I moved and it got dislocated someplace.
Well, what did the written contract say?
It
Do you have
said-
your copy?
What's that?
What do you
No,
mean?
I
What
only
way-
gave her, it was on a napkin. So
A napkin, listen.
It was
Listen,
real
this is
legal.
California. They do napkins all the time here.
That's right.
Huh?
Love to do napkins.
All right. So what did it say on the napkin?
It said that I'll get the dog pregnant, and if I don't, that she gets her $200 back. But, you know...
Just a second. Just, I don't think he understands the drill here.
I don't think so, Judge.
It didn't say but. It says she gets her $200 back.
Okay.
Now, what it said?
Yes.
Good. And your position is you were willing to have another overnight
Yes.
instead of giving her the $200 back.
Well, what I told her on the phone was that she has to leave the dog over for at least 2 or 3 nights so they could hit it a couple times.
Just a second. Can I ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
I mean, this is an almost serious question. Have you ever used your dog for stud before?
Yeah, for my friends.
Who have pit bulls?
Yeah.
And did those result in successful litters?
Uh-huh.
So you knew you had what they call in the trade a proven stud.
Yeah.
But maybe there's something wrong with her lady.
Could be very possible.
Right. And your contract said if it didn't take, she gets her $200 back.
That's what the contract said, but not by, word of mouth. I told her that she had to leave the dog over, and when I called her back one night, well, I don't know if you want me to get into that part of the story yet.
Well, the case is almost over, sir, so if you have something to say, you better get it out now.
No, all right. What had happened was I came home from work, and she had gone in my backyard without me even being there or anybody being there and taking the dog home.
We had talked and made arrangements to meet at 6 o'clock.
This, I don't remember
And
doing.
you didn't show up
Talk to,
by
no,
6:30.
don't talk to him, talk to me.
By 6:30, he
The
was not
dog
there.
was there overnight.
Correct.
All right.
And he admitted that they had connected. She's
Is there
not.
any particular reason why you want to have puppies with this pit bull?
You want to see the pit bull?
What? No, I don't.
It's
a nice looking dog.
No, but why do you want
Because I want another dog, plus I want to be able to sell the pups and make some money.
Okay. Well, can I make a suggestion to you?
Certainly.
Do you have papers for your dog?
No.
Oh, you don't have papers for your dog? Well, that's a problem. That's a problem. And you don't care who your dog made. You have papers for your dog?
No. See, because I would be charging a lot more for my dog because he has a brother that gets, with papers, $1,000 a stud fee.
Well, it's interesting. Why doesn't your dog have papers?
Because I got it from a person who wasn't taking care of the dog, and I told the people that I'd take it off their hands and give it a proper home and really take care of it.
But why didn't they give you the papers?
They didn't have papers to begin with. He owned some kind of wild animal.
Just a minute. You just told me that your dog's brother gets $1,000 for stud. So
Right.
if your dog's brother gets $1,000 for stud, then the litter must have been a registered litter. You see, I know a little bit about that. So if you have a registered litter, that means all the puppies in the litter are registered, which means they can all get papers unless you have taken a puppy with the promise that the puppy would not be used for stud.
Come again? No. Okay. Anyhow.
Did you understand what I said,
I
Bert?
heard every word.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you just tell me that your dog has a brother?
He has a brother,
Yes.
a sister, and a mother.
But the brother is a proven stud, and the brother gets $1,000 for stud service. Didn't you just tell me that?
Correct.
So I'm telling you that if the brother has papers,
Yeah.
one dog in a litter doesn't get papers, sir. An entire litter is registered with the American Kennel Club, which means all the dogs in that litter get papers,
Okay.
right? Do you understand that? So
But
where
do
are
you
your
understand
dog's
that I didn't
papers?
get papers, though?
Oh, yes, you just told me that.
I told you that I didn't get it, and I just took the dog off their hands. This wasn't a puppy when I got it, okay? Now, I got the dog, and I told them I'd give him a proper home for it. I didn't ask for papers because I didn't even know if I'd do this. I didn't care whether the dog had or not to mate another dog. So I took the dog, you know, just trying to give it a proper home because I have a good heart for, you know.
Good. So you're good heart. You're going to give her back her $200. Judgment is for the plaintiff for $200. That's all.
Oh, he's excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next...
Ok, chào mọi người. Và cái clip này mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn lấy cái nút Meta Verific cho những cái tài khoản mà chưa khả dụng nha. Thì đây là một cái mẹo mà mình vừa mới Sheindlin được. Một cái công cụ đến từ các anh Ấn Độ. Nói chung là các anh Ấn Độ lúc nào cũng pro hết. Đây. Thì hiện tại mình đang có một cái tài khoản Australia. Nó chỉ khả dụng với những cái tài khoản Australia với USA thôi nha các bạn. Còn những cái tài khoản khác thì mình chưa biết. Ở bên đó người ta chỉ nói là những cái tài khoản Ấn Độ, những cái tài khoản USA, những cái tài khoản Australia thì mà nó chưa có nút á, thì có thể sử dụng cái công cụ này. Còn tài khoản Việt Nam thì mình chưa rõ. Mình cũng chưa test và mình cũng không dám test bằng tài khoản chính của mình. Ok. Và ở đây mình có một tài khoản là chưa có cái nút nè. Bây giờ mình sẽ tiến hành vào cái đường link này ha, oscarlay.online. Anh em lưu ý là khi mà anh em đăng nhập nè, bạn phải đăng nhập xong bạn mới mở cái link này nha. Đăng nhập xong rồi mới mở cái link này. Đây, mở trực tiếp nó lên. Như thế này. Ok. Sau đó bạn nhấn vào Start Project. Ở đây là nó sẽ có một cái phần Meta Verific. Nó sẽ yêu cầu các bạn nhập cái cookie. Thì đây là tool được tạo bởi repack.me nè. Repack.me này các anh nghe. Ok. Ở đây nhập cookie. Và cookie này bạn lấy ở đâu? Bạn lên Google gõ cho mình là F plus cookie. Để bạn dễ hình dung thì lấy cái Meta Verific đó để xác minh tích xanh giống như mình nè. Đó, hiểu chưa? Đây, bạn tìm F plus cookie. F plus cookie. Bạn vào cái trang plus 24 giờ này. Bạn click vào để tải cái file này, bạn click vào cái này ha. Sau đó bạn giải nén ra và bạn sẽ được một cái thư mục. Đây, để được cái thư mục như thế này. Ok. Và tiếp đến là bạn sẽ tiến hành cài cái công cụ này vào, cách cài nó như thế nào. Bây giờ mình sẽ xóa cái nó để mình cài lại cho các bạn dễ hình dung ha. Ở trong Google Chrome nè, bạn nhấn vào cái dấu mình đang để con chuột đây nè, bạn vào Manage Extension, bạn vào Load on Package. Mà trước khi vào á, bạn sẽ phải nhấn vào đây nha, bạn nhấn vào đây thì nó mới hiện ra cái nút Load on Package nha. Developer Mode, Load on Package. Sau đó bạn chọn tới cái folder này, chọn tới cái folder bạn vừa giải nén, bạn nhấn vào Select Folder, nó sẽ hiện ra như thế này. Sau đó bạn vào tab Facebook, bạn lại nhấn vào cái icon tiện ích này nè, bạn nhấn vào Get Cookie for F+. Nó sẽ đưa cho bạn một cái mã cookie như thế này ha. Bạn copy hết cái này, copy. Sau đó vào lại cái đường link Oscar đâu nhỉ? Đây, oscarlay.online. Đây, vào lại cái đường link này. Start recheck. Bạn dán nó vào đây. Ok, nhấn vào Get Meta Verified. Successful, go to account center and check. Bây giờ bạn sẽ tiến hành relax nó lại ha. Lúc nãy mình làm là khoảng 5 giây đã có rồi, ok. Meta Verified available. Đó là nó cho cả Instagram và Facebook luôn. Và anh em có thể thanh toán ở đây. Anh em có thể lấy cái tích xanh Meta ở đây ha. Rồi ok, vậy là mình đã hướng dẫn thành công. Và chúc các bạn thành công. Và nhớ là sử dụng via Úc hoặc là via USA. Có những cái điều kiện là bạn bè rồi hình ảnh này kia nè. Nếu không cũng sẽ không có lên được đâu. Bởi vì cái này là bung á. Và anh em lưu ý giúp mình là tài khoản Việt Nam thì mình sẽ không chắc nha. Tài khoản Việt Nam thì mình không chắc là có thể đâu. Ok, goodbye.